Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Was Betrayed by Everyone and Got Trained by Garou, Yujiro Hanma Ryu Part 2. Before we start, please go support ancalagonintheblack for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Deku is a male in this story. Chapter 20. After everyone saw Izuku's new form being his dragon or monster form, whatever you want to call him, so that his friends could see Izuku's last test, having the answers as to why when he meditated he ended up with some damage. In these moments after that huge explosion of the place, everyone opened their eyes so they could see the boy who ended up on the floor with large wounds and burns from that battle he had, worrying everyone who, in the face of this, took the boy to take him to his room where they began to bandage him, although they noticed how he began to heal. Todoroki. I imagined many things but never that. Momo. Yes, I imagined you were going to think that, but now Izuku has already done the last test, he might be fine, since he won't receive any more damage. She said this as she began to stroke Izuku's head, who was just sleeping peacefully without any problems in front of them, who now had a smile. Shoji. Well, we have to leave him alone since he needs to rest. Melissa. Yeah, I think he won't wake up until tomorrow, I think. Todoroki. Okay, then we have nothing else to do, let's all go. Everyone left while the brunette just watched as the boy was in bed totally in the world of dreams. The next day Izuku began to wake up little by little so that he would open his eyes, noticing that he was now in his room. Izuku. What a headache. The boy sat down, but noticed that next to him on a table was a tray with breakfast ready for two. Izuku. Now who enters my room without permission? At that point he noticed Momo coming through the door, and when she saw that the green-haired boy was awake, she already had a smile on her face, so she approached. Momo. Great, you're already awake and I just made breakfast. Izuku. Don't think that I'm like you in that I end up waking up because of food. Momo. Yes, I know, although it wouldn't be strange to think that. Izuku. So you made breakfast yourself? Momo. Yes. At that the boy took the food to take a bite, his face pale as he thought about what he put in the food. Momo. It's my first time cooking without anyone watching me, what do you think? Izuku. I better help you cook or I better start teaching you how to cook. Momo. I already imagined that result. Izuku. If you know I'm direct, I don't hide things, let's go so I can make breakfast. Momo. But you're hurt. The brunette watched as he stood up without any problems to start walking, as if it were nothing, while he began to remove the bandages from his body, revealing that he did not have many wounds. Although by showing more of his body this caused Momo to end up blushing when she saw the green-haired man's naked torso, who only put on a short-sleeved black shirt that fit his body so that he could get out of the place. Izuku. Come here or I'll carry you in my arms. At those words, Momo came out of her blush to accompany the boy to the kitchen where they began to cook, although rather it was Izuku who began to cook before Momo's eyes, who only watched as the boy cooked, beginning to take notes so that Izuku would notice him. Izuku. Let me see if I understand correctly, you want me to teach you how to cook and that's why you're writing everything down. Momo. Yes, or else I won't be able to start cooking alone. Izuku just looked at her attentively so that she could take the notebook and with one go enter the brunette's room, impressing her since the room had the door locked. Momo. How could you? Izuku. First rule with me when you learn to cook, never ever try to write things down when I'm there, you learn without the help of a note taker. Momo. But. Izuku. But nothing is the first rule you have to learn to start cooking. The brunette only paid attention to see how the boy was cooking, making the food to serve on the table, it being a meal for two, so they sat down. Izuku. And did you learn something? Momo. No. Izuku. And that's why you should never have a notebook. Then Izuku's group came in and saw the two of them. Jiro. Incredible, you feel better now. Izuku. Yes, as you can see, I am better than before, but well, if you want something to eat, there is a little more food, help yourself. The group just went to serve themselves and start eating, all of whom ate happily while talking a little, until the rest arrived and saw how they were eating calmly, all of whom were calm to see a pot which had some steam coming out of it, making them think that the green-haired man made food for everyone, so they approached only to see that he had nothing but leftover food. Lita. Hey, didn't you make more food for everyone? Shinso. Do you eat? Uraraka. What are you doing here? I'm supposed to be in your building, and it's more than obvious that they had to make food for everyone. Izuku. You see, I made the food, but I sat down to eat waiting for someone to eat and serve themselves a plate, but well, they arrived first and you arrived late. What can be done in exchange for being able to travel in time? The boy took a sip of his coffee while everyone looked at this so they could start making their breakfast until Izuku's group finished so they could go to their classroom entering it until the rest of the class arrived so that after a while, Aizawa arrived and sat down. Aizawa. As you know, today is the last day you can have your training since tomorrow you have the sports festival, so you will be given the day off so you can train. Everyone and agreed started to leave, while Izuku calmly left to think for a bit. Momo. Is something wrong, Izuku? Todoroki. Yes, we have to go train. Izuku. I wouldn't advise that. Yujiro. Why? Izuku. Well, let's say that during these days we were training as much as we could to the maximum, but tomorrow we have the sports festival, so it would be better to rest, so tomorrow we go with all our energy. Everyone, upon hearing that, thought for a moment before nodding at those words. Shoji. You're right, it would be better to rest today. Tokoyami. I was already feeling a little tired anyway. At that point Class B approached. Manama. Hey Izuku, I heard you were a singer before. Izuku. Yes, and that's what it has. Manama. I dare you to go to the cafeteria and sing if you're so brave. Kendo. Manama, leave him alone. Izuku. No need, I accept the challenge. Everyone went to the cafeteria to get their food and sit at a table. Kirishima. Izu bro, are you really going to sing in this place? Izuku. Yeah, it's better to start now. The boy wiped his mouth with a napkin while at another table. Manama. I knew he wouldn't dare. Kendo. Seriously, why are you talking? And that they heard music while watching a part being Izuku who put on a player calling everyone's attention while he began to get up to start singing. Every time he said more words of the song, it passed between the girls, causing them to have hearts in their eyes when they saw the green-haired boy until it finished for Izuku to bow while everyone applauded, even those in Class B, although Manama was angry while on the other hand the teachers wanted to stop him. Nezu. Better not do anything to him. All might. But teacher, it is not right for a student to be singing in the dining room. Nezu. I actually think the students need a bit of this spirit. When they finished, everyone went to their bedrooms with Izuku's group with him. Kirishima. You are quite the man, you accept a challenge and you fulfill it. Izuku. Yes, but anyway, I have to go somewhere. Momo. Can I accompany you? Izuku. Okay. The brunette accompanied the green-haired man to a place. Izuku. Motorcycle or car? Momo. The motorcycle. The two of them got on the motorcycle to start driving out of the UA calmly until they reached Najire's house, where they got off to knock on the door, seeing the girl open the door. Najire. Hello Izuku. Izuku. Hello Najire, can I come in? Najire. Yes. The two of them walked in to see Eri who was playing with Mirio who was there like Tamaki. Mirio. Hello Izuku. Izuku. Hey Mirio, I came for a small thing. Mirio. What's wrong? Izuku. I'd like to give something to Eri. Eri. What is it? Izuku. Calm down, come to the courtyard. The girl agreed to walk to the courtyard where Izuku showed his dragon form to start flying a little, surprising everyone except Momo. Eri. Dad, that's great. Izuku. Tell me Eri, do you want to be like me with this dragon form? Eri. Yes. Izuku. Then take this. The girl watched as her father took out a bottle with a red liquid. Eri. What is that? Izuku. Just take it daughter and you will see what my gift is. The girl agreed to take the bottle, nothing happened. Eri. Nothing happened. Izuku. Wait a little and you'll see what's going to happen. They waited a bit but still nothing happened. Eri. Still nothing happens. Izuku. Actually it's about time, concentrate on an animal, think about being like an animal, walking on 4 legs, flying like one, living like one. Izuku put his hand on the girl's head helping her so that Eri could take out black wings like her father and a tail just like her, although this one was white, while she had one eye like her father being green with a black slanted pupil, while the other eye was blue. Her hands were white while when she took off her shoes she now had black ones and her hair was white, although half of it going to the tips was black. Eri. What happened? Najire. That's right, what happened Izuku? Izuku. Now she is more like my blood daughter, although I do N''T know why the white parts, but well I think it's because of her original genetics. Eri. Wait, you say that now I am like you, like your blood daughter. Izuku. Yes Eri, you are like my blood daughter. At that the girl was extremely happy and she began to jump for joy, being seen by everyone. Eri. Dad, when can I go home? Izuku. Don't worry, I'm still in the UA dorms. Eri. Then I'll go to the dorms with you. The girl showed her happiness, causing some to be surprised by her enthusiasm. Izuku. Okay then you can go if Najire lets me. Najire. If you can go with your father, after all you are your father. Izuku. Then go gather your things, we'll be leaving soon. Eri? Yes dad. The girl left as Izuku began to walk. Tamaki. What are you going to do? Izuku. Nothing special. It shows how he had a small bracelet to touch some buttons. Mirio. And that. Izuku. Let's say I just sent the bike to UA and now my car will come, otherwise I don't have the money to carry all of Eri's things. Momo. I'm going to help her put her things away from her. The brunette began to walk towards Eri's room where she found the girl putting her things away from her to help her. Mirio. So a new form. Izuku. Yeah, I have a lot more up my sleeve since the last time we saw each other Mirio. Mirio. I'm just glad to see you again, friend. Izuku. I say the same, there aren't many things that make me a little bit happy more than meeting Eri and being with my friends. Mirio. And tell me tomorrow about the sports festival, what do you plan to do? Izuku. Nothing special, just beat everyone. Tamaki. I think I have something you might be interested in about the festival. Izuku. What's wrong? Tamaki. It turns out that at this festival the fights are going to be separate, girls against girls and boys against boys. Izuku. Thanks for that, it helps me a bit. Then he saw Momo arrive with Eri carrying some suitcases. Izuku. Are you there? Eri. Yes, I have everything. Izuku. Well goodbye Nijire, Mirio, Tamaki and thanks for taking care of Eri while I was gone. Nijire. It's okay, you know I'm always here to help, by the way. He passes him a sheet of paper that the boy took. Izuku. What's this? Nijire. Well, these leaves are some things that Eri currently does, you know, like school among others. Izuku. Then thank you. The three previous UA greats said goodbye as they left the place, although Eri was riding on Momo's legs, as it was a two-person car. Izuku. Hey Eri, now I have to help you with your dragon form. Eri. Yes dad. Some time passed as they arrived at the UA where they parked to meet in a part where they saw Mei and Melissa with Izuku's motorcycle. Izuku. When are you going to leave the bike alone? Melissa. Just a few more touches and it will be more than ready. Izuku. Okay. And that they saw how Momo left with Eri so that Izuku could take down the suitcases while he left the garage noticing Nezu with Izawa, All Might and Midnight. Izuku. Is something wrong? Izawa. What are you doing with Eri here? Izuku. Well, if the girl wants to be with her father, I won't deny it. After all, she wanted to come live with her father. All Might. If you know you can't have a young girl like Eri here. Izuku. Are you forbidding me from being with my daughter? The boy began to change his features as his eyes slowly began to look greener, with more slanted pupils, as well as his hair changing and the rest of his body without his wings and tail appearing. Nezu. Wait a minute, young Izuku can have the girl as long as he can keep her. Izuku. Thanks, Nezu. Momo. If you let me, I'll take her to Izuku's room. The brunette went with Eri to Izuku's room while Izuku stayed in front of them. Izuku. Do you want anything else? Nezu. Yes, I wanted to ask if when the sports festival is over you could put on a concert if you can. Izuku. Okay Nezu, I'll do a concert after the festival, but do you want anything else? Nezu. No, that's all, you can go. The boy left the place directly to where Eri was, although he had to be disturbed in the middle of the room. Lita. Midoriya, what is Eri doing here? Izuku. She wanted to come live with me since I'm her father, so I brought her. Lita. But you mustn't. He was silenced because Izuku pulled out his tail to hit him, sending him flying. Izuku. Don't bother me stupid. Uraraka. Deku-kun, I can be a mother without any problem. Izuku. She doesn't have to call you mother because of me, but she herself has to be the one to start calling you mother. The boy entered his room seeing the second bed already dark with the girl hanging out. Izuku. Looks like you're already used to it, Eri. Eri. Yes, as long as it's where my dad is, I'll always be fine. Izuku. In that case let's start by seeing where all your things are. The boy looked at where to leave all his daughter's things, while Eri played a little with Momo, who was happy to play with Eri until they finished playing. Izuku. Eri come we have to practice your new form a little. Eri. Yes dad. The girl accompanied him outside so that everyone was also outside, since some were thinking of going to the hot springs while others were just training, watching how the three of them came out when the girl went into her dragon form, surprising everyone except Momo and Izuku. Izuku. Well, we'll start now. The boy began to fly while the girl did the same, reaching her father's level with a little effort. Izuku. Now we'll take a few laps. The girl agreed to start flying with Izuku, doing some turns with the boy, spending a while until she got used to it, to the joy of the boy who looked at his daughter. But when he looked away from her enzyme to turn around, but when he looked back at his daughter, he couldn't find her. He lost sight of her completely, so he began to look everywhere, looking down, up, to the sides, but he couldn't find anything. Izuku. Eri, where are you? Eri. Saying that, everyone looked at how the boy was looking for the girl, whom he couldn't find, causing everyone to start looking for her with their eyes. But from one moment to the next, something collided with Izuku's sword, causing him to look back and see the little girl who was flying. Izuku. Eri. Eri. Dad, look what I managed to do. The girl flew a little while, throwing a little fire into the air so that it would pass through the fire, disappearing from everyone's sight. But from one moment to the next, she ended up appearing next to the green-haired boy. Izuku. A form of perfect camouflage, you can make yourself invisible, daughter. Eri. Yeah, it's not that fabulous. Izuku. Yes it is. The boy began to fly with the girl until he noticed how she got used to flying, so she went down to be on the ground, leaving their dragon form. Izuku. Do you want to go relax? Eri. Yes. Izuku. Then let's go to the hot springs. At that point they entered with Izuku's group. Momo. Wait Izuku, how about I take her with me to the girls' hot springs? Izuku. Why? Melissa. We don't want a repeat of what happened that time when you were at the Yuna hot springs. Eri. What happened? Izuku. You do and apostrophe T need to know, daughter, as long as she is okay, you can take her from her. The boy left the girl with the brunette and the blonde, who went with the girl to the women's hot springs, while Izuku went with the boys to start relaxing in the men's hot springs, although when Izuku went to the hot springs he entered completely naked. Yujiro. There's no need for you to go naked. Izuku. And why not? We are men, or maybe you see a woman, besides you have the same thing between your legs as me, so don't complain too much. Todoroki. Out of pity, it makes a little sense. Kirishima. He is a man who is absolutely right. Shoji. Hey Izuku, what happened at the Yuna hot springs? Izuku. Only I was calm, only I was bothered a little by Yura until Momo and Melissa arrived, but she kept bothering me until I got up and left the place, just that. Everyone was wondering how bad it could get until they had an idea. Okoyami. Wait, did they see you? Izuku. Well yes, I went in and came out completely naked. Yujiro. All the more reason Eri shouldn't be with you. Everyone stayed there for a while longer, calm. Chapter 21. After Izuku had been with his friends, so that they ended up taking a little break before the sports festival, although Izuku took the opportunity to go with Eri, showing her his new dragon form, which helped the girl to control, surprising Izuku's group, who only went to the hot springs to relax for a while, until the others from the classroom arrived, both from Class A and Class B. Who only entered the water being with all of them, although the boys looked at Izuku's group who were talking calmly. Manama. Hey, why didn't you train? You know we have the festival tomorrow. Izuku. Yes, we know, but it's better to relax and let our muscles start to hurt a little today instead of tomorrow, when we'll end up badly if we feel any part that hurts. Yujiro. I think we have to go out, we have to eat something. Izuku's group ended up leaving the hot springs as if nothing had happened, in front of the gaze of the other boys, who just stayed while the girls watched the others enter, but this didn't matter to them, and they continued playing with Eri, who was enjoying the water. Mina. Hey, that's the girl who was with Izuku, she's supposed to be like his daughter. He said this so they could see the group of 4 girls with a girl who had a smile, so they approached little by little, although more of a brown hair. Uraka. Hello Eri, how are you? In the presence of the girl, the other 4 became alert for any movement. Eri. I'm doing fine. Jiru. It seems you were flying with your father. Eri. Yes, I was with my father for a while training, he taught me how to handle my new form. The girl gave a small yawn, meaning she was beginning to fall asleep. Momo. If they let us, we have to take Eri to sleep. The 4 girls took the little girl to take her to the dormitories, being seen by Izuku from the sky, who kept watching the place in order to protect his daughter, knowing that the other girls from the other classes entered the place. The girls, when they entered the dormitory room, they only looked at the place without problems, until Izuku entered through a window, returning to normal. Izuku. Did something happen with Eri? He said this as he looked at the sleeping girl. Momo. She wasn't just a little sleepy, that's why I brought her. The girl gave the albino to the green-haired man, who only took her daughter to her room to leave her there so she could sleep peacefully. Shoji. Tomorrow is the festival. Kirishima. And we have to do our best. Momo. Apparently our families will be able to come to see how they will see us. Yujiro. I mean how? Izuku. Practically, as there are special positions for students, there will be special positions for parents who will be close to the heroes. May. I hope you're ready for tomorrow. Izuku. I'm more than ready to defeat anyone who stands in my way. Momo. It would be better if we all went and rested at once. Everyone went to sleep to be calm. The next day Izuku woke up to see his daughter who was still sleeping peacefully, so he got up to start walking towards the door to leave and go directly to the kitchen where he met Momo who tried to cook. The brunette tried to flip some pancakes, but when she was going to do it, they almost fell until Izuku ended up holding it to put it on a plate. Izuku. Looks like someone got up before me to make breakfast. Momo. I just tried to cook it a little, you know how you always cooked, so I wanted to try it. Izuku. Okay, let's start cooking. The green-haired boy began to cook with the brunette who only followed his steps, leaving her a little surprised by how the boy cooked, but she only had to copy him until she finished leaving breakfast ready, which was some waffles that had a little honey and some cups of coffee. Izuku. Well, if you let me, I have to go with Eri. Momo. I'll go with you. The brunette began to walk with Izuku to her room where they entered to see the little girl beginning to wake up when she smelled the food that entered the room, so she sat on the bed more than ready to eat. Izuku. Well, it seems that he looks more like you than me. Momo. What did you expect? Maybe in the time I spend with her I'll lend that habit. Eri. Food. Izuku. Then let's start eating. And that they began to eat between the three of them until they finished so that they could walk and meet Izuku's group, joining them. Shoji. The big day has arrived. Izuku. Yes, but well, let's start preparing ourselves. Everyone agreed to start getting ready until Izawa walked in. Izawa. Let's all go, we have to go to the festival. Everyone left to get on the bus to start going to the festival, seeing the huge building to enter, seeing everything, but Izuku came to see his father from him to approach with Eri in his arms from him. Ryu. Hello, son. Izuku. Hey dad, can you take care of Eri for the next few hours? Ryu. Yes, why do you have her doing all this? Eri. Dad, who is that man? Saying that, Ryu turned pale upon hearing the words. Izuku. Eri, he's your grandfather, you'll be with him for a while. The boy left the little girl with Ryu who walked to sit in the stands, although he still wasn't over the shock of having heard that. Izuku with his group went to change to start preparing, while Ryu had already sat in a part with Eri, who had some popcorn to watch the fight or whatever was going to happen. Elizabeth. So you came to see your son Ryu. Ryu. Hello Elizabeth, I came to see Izuku, and it seems that you are going to see Momo. Elizabeth. Yes, but by the way, who is that girl? Don't tell me you have a daughter now. Ryu. No, apparently my son ended up adopting Eri since she became fond of my son. At that a heroine sat next to Eri starting to eat a carrot but noticed the girl. Mirko. You're Eri, the girl who Izuku was taking care of, aren't you? Eri. Yes, the same. Ryu. Hi, I'm. He couldn't finish speaking because Eri got there first. Eri. It's my grandfather Ryu Infernicus. Mirko. What, grandpa? Ryu. I'm already starting to feel old. Mirko. It's okay, this usually happens with some boys and girls. Elizabeth. Look, it looks like it's about to start. They saw how everyone began to leave moments before with them. Lita. Everyone start getting ready, I know we'll have to go to the festival soon. Todoroki. I ask that for just one day I stop acting like a robot. Izuku. You can't do anything except being a robot. Kirishima. I can't wait to get started. Izuku. Calm down, there's no need to get so excited. Kirishima. I just want to get started on something. At that point they heard people begin to say the classes were going to begin. Izuku. Let's just go and give it all we have. They all went outside where they saw everyone in the place showing smiles, making it clear that they wanted to get started. Present might. Like last year Midnight will be the one to give some presentations. The heroine made an appearance before the eyes of everyone who was just waiting to see what was going to happen. Midnight. Well, like last year, young Bakugo will be the one to start. Bakugo stepped in front of everyone, taking the microphone to start speaking. Bakugo. Like last year I will be the best of all, number 1. Izuku. And he still thinks he's the best of all until I face him. Momo. Not much else can be done Izuku. Todoroki. Let's just see what they're going to put on us first. He said it so that everyone would see the place wondering what was going to happen. Midnight. The first test will be easy, you have to do a hit to see if you are up to the level. He said this as everyone watched a device emerge from the floor. Midnight. They have to hit him with all their strength, the best ones who hit him with enough points will be able to move on to the next part of the festival. Saying that, they each began to prepare their attacks, with Todoroki using an ice pillar, Bakugo using his explosions, Shoji making multiple parts of his arm, Kendo increasing the size of his fists, Kirishima going to his hardest form, Sedu ate a large amount of sugar, each one passing, with the three that were first being Bakugo, Todoroki and Momo. The brunette using a cannon to demonstrate her quirk until it was Izuku's turn, who came forward. Izuku. Just use my strongest blow. The boy was pulling his fist back, making it look like a normal punch. The Kugo. That's not going to work for him. Lita. What are you thinking? They saw how the boy began to make a large amount of fire began to come out of his elbow, but it continued. The large amount of fire was more than obvious that some would cover themselves from the heat that the boy gave off, causing them not to notice that he hardened his fist while he took out some rays to give the blow, making a glow. When the light went out, everyone saw how the boy began to take out his fist, revealing that he ended up leaving that part more than burned apart from some cracks, so that everyone could see how it was in the first place. Izuku. I think I went a little overboard. Todoroki. A little. Midnight. Okay, let's move on to the next part of the festival where first place is going to help us. He showed some small robots which were next to a kind of pill which hit a lever. Midnight. This machine is used to make robots take the form and abilities of two people that the first place wants. Izuku stepped forward to take the slightest thought of only two people, so that the two small robots began to grow bigger. One ended up becoming a kind of man who had a more than formed body, since he did not have a shirt revealing a tattoo that was on his arms connecting to his back. He had pants which were white with some blue parts. He had long hair reaching his waist while he had dark circles apart from the fact that the color of his hair was black as night. The second man was just a man who had a more than formed body, while he had a kind of diaper, although they recognized that it was truly the clothes of a sumo participant, while his hair was much shorter than the first man being black, but at the gray tips having his hair tied in a ponytail, although it was upwards as if his hair defied the logic of gravity. Midnight. Can you tell us a little about these men? Izuku. Yes, the first one who has a spear is Lubu, a person with incredible brute force that no one can confront, or at least it was like that in the past. He was famous for killing all his opponents with a single blow from his spear. He said this as some people began to fear the seriousness of what is called power. Midnight. And the other one? He said this with a little fear for Lubu. Izuku. The other is Raiden, the greatest sumo wrestler in history, although apart from that he is also the biggest womanizer in life, as well as a pervert. Saying that, the girls moved a little further away from Raiden. Midnight. Don't you want to change it to Raiden? Izuku. If you want, I can choose one who is the same as Lubu or worse. Saying that they left Raiden. Midnight. Well, the festival part is that they can choose one of them, and they have to at least show an attack that is significant in order to move on to the next part of the festival. At that everyone agreed, although when Izuku arrived with his group they surrounded him. Kirishima. Izu bro, don't you think you went overboard with the choice? Izuku. No, they are the perfect people to be able to do this test. Shoji. I don't know which one to choose. Izuku. I recommend you fight Raiden just as I recommend the same to Yujiro and Todoroki. Kirishima. And why don't I go against him? Shoji. That's right, they've been around since before people awakened a quirk. Why did you choose people who are quirkless? Izuku. These people aren't normal, it's like they have a quirk. Sai. What are you talking about? Izuku. Raiden, apart from being the strongest sumo wrestler since he was little, he was in bed for 3 years, but when he stood up for the first time his bones broke because his strength, his true strength, was compressed until he managed to get up. Over the years he became stronger to the point that just by putting his hand on a concrete wall and applying a little force, he would end up breaking it as if it were nothing to him. It is not advisable for Kirishima to mess with him or the girls because of how perverted he can be. Todoroki. What about Lubu? Izuku. Lubu at the age of 8 killed his biological and adoptive father without any mercy or feeling. Years went by in which he killed without any mercy, but it was always the same, killing with a single attack. In total they were nothing before him and his spear. There came a time when he tried to see his strength, the limit of his power. Todoroki. And what happened? Izuku. He managed to do the impossible. With his strength and only with brute and pure force, with the movement of his spear, he managed to divide the sky into 2 parts before him, although he kept training that ability for days, weeks and months, but in the end I achieved it. Sai. What happened to him in the end? Izuku. Having no opponent under the sky and being the strongest for having killed an entire army alone without anyone's help, he gave himself to his enemies so that they would end up throwing him to the orca. He cried begging for the lives of his men. Shinso. Even the strongest man is afraid of death. Izuku. It's not that. Momo. So what happened? Izuku. Boredom. As he said those words they looked at him doubtfully. Izuku. Being the strongest he had no rival causing him to end up in boredom, that is why he ended up giving himself to the enemy. The day they hung him, that day he cried, because boredom consumed him completely. He almost went crazy from boredom, that is why it ended that way. The strongest man died. That story surprised all of them who just couldn't get over the impression of how the strongest man ended up dead just because of boredom. Until they heard the name of one of them. Midnight. Todoroki comes forward and chooses one of them. When he stepped onto the platform, being the first of them all while he was thinking about who he would face first until he remembered who his friend was referring to. Todoroki. I choose Raiden. Everyone was talking about how the son of the number 2 hero was going to win easily, knowing that he was quirkless. Midnight. You may begin. Raiden. And here I thought my first opponent was a beautiful woman. Todoroki looked at him seriously so he could throw a pillar of ice at Raiden, who looked at him as the huge pillar went against him, so that with a single blow from the palm of his hand, he ended up breaking the huge pillar, surprising everyone who watched as the man began to walk, as if nothing happened, so he could see how he threw more ice, so with a single blow from the palm of his hand he ended up breaking it as if nothing happened, surprising everyone. Mirko. Isn't he supposed to be quirkless? Ryu. My son is definitely a crazy person when it comes to choosing them. Mirko. What are you talking about? Ryu. He is facing a human with super abilities that resemble a quirk. There are few people who before the time of quirks managed to develop something like this, but right now you are seeing a superhuman fighting. Mirko was a little surprised as she watched the fight as the huge man made his way through the ice, beginning to hit the ice, destroying it as if it were nothing, before the eyes of the Vickler, who walked away with his ice. Raiden. What's wrong? Am I scaring you a little? Todoroki. You'll see. Todoroki threw a large amount of ice, freezing his feet to throw fire at the top of his body, but the man leaned back, avoiding the fire so that he could get back up and with one movement break the ice to have a smile. Raiden. Get ready because I'm going to show you who's boss. Raiden launched himself at Todoroki, who in response only froze everything around him, preventing Raiden from continuing to move and launch a huge amount of fire, hitting him squarely so that it would go against him, but before Raiden broke the ice, Todoroki hit him squarely with a pill, causing him to end up off the platform, but he was still unharmed, surprising everyone. Izuku. Well, let's see who's next. At that moment Manama passed by with an arrogant smile. Manama. I will definitely defeat Lubu. The man stepped forward, showing a bored face as Manama went on to use the Tessu quirk, making his skin become metal, launching himself against Lubu, who looked at him and from one moment to the next ended up giving him a punch in the stomach, causing him to end up kneeling on the floor while he held his stomach, revealing that his metal form ended up breaking, causing him to spit blood. Manama. Damn it. As he said these words he fell unconscious. Izuku. That's definitely not Lubu. Momo. What are you talking about? Izuku. If I were Lubu, I would have killed Manama with that blow. Yujiro. I certainly wouldn't want to meet or face the original. Izuku. And you certainly wouldn't want to meet another one of them who was planning to put up and say that there are no pills that have been cemented. Tokoyami. Why do you say that? Izuku. If I had put this one, he would have really killed them all. He doesn't care about anything, he only cares about killing, as well as his ability, which is to blame for that. Tokoyami. By any chance, what does his ability have? Izuku. Let's say that his ability drove him crazy and since then he killed for pure fun, the human most hated by humans themselves. Yujiro. That sounds very dangerous. Izuku. Well, this person loves to see fear in his victims, he plays with their minds, keeps them in one place while he mentally tortures them without any mercy, he sees how you move, how you do things in fear until he gets tired and it will only kill you out of boredom and look for a new victim. That made everyone shiver that such a person existed. Chapter 22. After Izuku helped Momo cook, apart from having started the sports festival, leaving some to finish with some copies of Lubu and Raiden, with which each one began to fight. Since the copies showed great strength despite being quirkless, they could defeat whoever was in front of them, passing each one of them being defeated by both Lubu and Raiden's side, leaving several wounded in the stands while almost all of them had already passed, with only one last participant missing to complete the board and there was just one left in place. Midnight. Okay, Izuku Midoriya can step onto the platform to fight any of them. The green-haired boy would begin to walk, but he felt someone take his hand, so he could see Momo, who had a worried look for the boy, which was more than noticeable. Momo. Please be careful with anyone you face. Izuku. Don't worry about me, I can take on either of them. The boy stepped onto the platform and began to walk until he was at a distance from the two fighters. Midnight. Who do you choose? Izuku. I choose Lubu to fight. Everyone was a little surprised since Lubu had defeated more students than Raiden. Apart from being scary, Raiden left the place leaving only the two. Lubu. I hope the last fighter does something to me head on. Izuku. Calm down Lubu, you're going to have a big fight with me, so big that if you have the memories of the original, then you're going to feel the same as your fight against Thor. 15. Lubu. I hope so. Everyone watched as they began to walk towards each other with a serious face with a touch of boredom until they arrived in front of each other for Lubu to raise his spear to lower it at great speed against Izuku, who at this blocked it with his arm made of stone, although because of this, he ended up moving away so he could see Lubu who with a jump was about to hit Izuku, but he himself sent a hill against Lubu who at this covered himself with his spear, avoiding the blow sending him flying, causing him to end up standing up to get up. Lubu. You are the second one who can withstand my attack. Izuku. Coming from someone like that I think it would be an honor. Lubu would begin to walk towards Izuku who did the same with a serious look on his face until they arrived in front of each other so that they would try to hit each other, doing it at the same time so that they would end up moving away, followed by getting up to see each other again, but now they had a smile on their face. A sadistic smile that spread terror to all who looked at this being something truly strange, although they felt fear. Izuku. Let's see if you can handle this. The boy launched himself against Lubu with his fist beginning to shoot fire until he reached the front of Lubu to hit him fully, causing a huge explosion on the spot, but when he left the dust, they saw how Lubu made a cut in Izuku's chest and started laughing. Lubu. You are good. Izuku. And you still haven't seen anything of me. The two showed their smiles as they launched themselves against each other, again starting with a shower of blows, causing them to start bumping their fists against each other and in the process causing the floor to start breaking, surprising everyone by how the boy was doing such a thing, until with one more blow from one's face to the other, they ended up moving away so that they had a bigger smile. And before to stare at each other, they launched themselves again, although Lubu took his spear and Izuku made a stone spear so that the two weapons collided, causing the place to rumble before the eyes of everyone who still could not believe that fight that the two were giving. In one movement Lubu launched himself with his spear, trying to do something to Izuku as well as him, so that with a turn, they would make another clash of spears, so that they would have a bigger smile, but they did not stop and did with the clashes of weapons. Mina. They are monsters. Bakugo. What kind of quirkless is that? Todoroki. Does it matter now, it's a fight we'll never see again in our lives ever again. Kirishima. But how much longer are they going to hold out? With one more blow, the two of them moved away, making a line of destruction at their feet, but they only raised their heads, showing those smiles they had as if they had never had a fight like that before. Izuku. It's definitely been a while since I've had fun like this, it just makes me want to level up. He said this as he began to draw out lightning from his body with some fire. Lubu. I say the same. Izuku at one point disappeared to appear next to Lubu, kicking him in the face, moving him away from the place so that he would disappear again to give him another punch in the face, but this time Lubu managed to hit the green-haired man in the face, lifting him into the air, but he didn't stop, as with one jump, he reached Izuku's height to give him another punch, crashing him against the floor and making a small crater from which Izuku emerged. Haminari. How can he get up after suffering those blows? Todoroki. He is stronger than all of us together, and he proved it when we all fought against him, he defeated us as if we were nothing before him, so it would not be surprising if he could maintain a fight against a guy like that. Mina. Although she has a smile. They looked at the two fighters who kept a smile on their faces because of the fight they were having at that moment until they hit each other at the same time, moving away from each other while they had a smile on their faces. Lubu. You are certainly good. Izuku. I say the same, give me more battle Lubu. The two of them collided fists making the place shake, followed by another clash to everyone's surprise, so that they butted heads to get away from each other, while Lubu took out his spear and Izuku threw a stone spear at the floor so that they would launch themselves against each other again, clashing their weapons. They did not stop as they clashed their weapons again without putting any brakes on their attacks, just like the clash of these that made the platform shake to everyone's astonishment. Mina. They are monsters. Kirishima. But real men. They watched as another clash ended with them moving away from each other, even though they were showing great skill with their spears, until they looked at each other with a smile. Lubu. I'll end this. He said this while holding his spear by the tip with only his fingers. Izuku. Then I think the same. The boy launched himself at Lubu keeping his spear down until he reached where Lubu was to try to hit him with the spear, while the same man lowered his spear, the two weapons collided, creating a wave in the place that almost knocked everyone down, while they watched as the two were on the floor, although they were beginning to get up. Blood was coming out of Izuku's arm and Lubu some rays showing that the machine suffered some damage. Izuku. You live up to your skill, Heaven Eater. Everyone looked at the sky at those words, surprised to see that it was a little cut off by the gaze. Izuku. It's a shame you're not the real Lubu, otherwise that attack would have taken my damn arm off. Lubu. And you're still standing, that makes me very happy. They looked at their spears which were broken. Izuku. Bare knuckle. Lubu. With bare fists. They launched themselves at each other to collide fists in their faces, but they did not back down, but continued hitting each other in place to everyone's surprise as they gave their best. Izuku's blood began to fall on the sand, while Lubu's rays became more noticeable, until the last blow from the green-haired man ended up destroying him, making an explosion for everyone to see, while Izuku was standing with his fist extended. Midnight. Izuku from Class 2 advances to the next round. But that everyone gave a shout while Izuku had a bored look as he looked at the pieces of the machine. The boy walked off the platform before everyone's eyes. Kirishima. That was a great fight, Izu bro. Todoroki. Although I don't understand why that bored look. Izuku. I just want to meet him one more time to have a fight. Everyone looked at the pieces of the machine in surprise. Yujiro. Why do you want that? Izuku. A true warrior would understand it perfectly, and if that machine had lasted longer, it would undoubtedly have fallen to him. Manama. So Class A is weaker than Class B, even though Izuku is supposed to be the strongest. Izuku. If we think about it, Manama, you wouldn't have done anything about it since I never used my quirk in that fight other than to make the spear. Todoroki. So it was a quirkless hand-to-hand fight. Izuku. That's right, anyone would say that I'm suicidal for having done such a thing as fighting without a quirk against the strongest man. Mina. It still doesn't make sense why you want to see him again. Kendo. It is the honor of one warrior to another. Lubu earned Izuku's respect, and that is why he wants to see him again. Izuku. I have earned my respect a long time ago, just like other people who are very strong. Bakugo. Then you respect me. Izuku. If you give me a great fight for yourself, then I will tell you if you earn my respect, yes or no. That goes for everyone, since no one in this place has earned my respect even the slightest, they didn't earn it. But that everyone was surprised as they watched Izuku begin to walk away from the place, but a brunette stopped him. Momo. Wait a minute, at least you have to take something. She said this as she began to bandage Izuku's arm like other parts of her body, to the surprise of everyone who just watched as the girl was bandaging Izuku, noticing that she cared about her classmates, so some perverts were not going to pass up this opportunity. Kaminari. You know something, Momo, I got hit really hard and I think I have an open part of my body that needs to be bandaged. Mineta. Likewise, if you don't sell us in time then we will die. Momo. Then if they die, we won't have too many problems. But that the two perverts were in shock as they looked at the girl who kept bandaging Izuku, since he had many cuts. Mineta. But. He fell silent when he saw Izuku's gaze, which ended up scaring him into leaving, while Kaminari couldn't do anything about what was happening there, especially when he noticed that Izuku set his sights on him, making his face white from the fear he was beginning to feel at that moment. Chapter 23. After the second part of the sports festival ended, everyone was watching how the fights were going to take place, the first being the men's fights, where two fighters were cheered on by the people, a green-haired man and a blonde man, while Present Might was just beginning with the introductions. Present Might. On the one hand, coming directly from Class B, he is the one who copies everything, someone who with just a touch will completely copy your quirk. I present to you Manama from Class 2B. The blonde climbed with enormous arrogance while everyone celebrated. Present Might. On the other hand comes someone with enormous power, possibly the strongest student at UA from what we've seen so far, a monster among monsters, someone who is not afraid of anything and famous for his music, Izuku of Class A. Everyone shouted with joy, although this clearly didn't matter to Izuku. Izuku. Everyone who could have gotten me into a fight came in, and it turns out he's just an idiot. Manama. When I defeat you, I'll show everyone the enormous potential of Class B. Izuku. That same arrogance will be what destroys you. Midnight. Begin. Manama launched himself at Izuku with clear intentions of copying his quirk. Izuku. So pathetic and yet predictable. He barely arrived when he ended up with a kick to the stomach that sent him away before everyone's eyes. Izuku. I honestly feel sorry for you. Manama. Shut up. He launched himself at Izuku again with clear intentions of finishing him off, but the green-haired man kicked him in the jaw, lifting him into the air. Izuku. Like I said before, predictable. He hit him in the stomach while he was still in the air, causing him to spit blood as he flew out, causing him to crawl along the floor until he finished and began to get up little by little. Izuku. Come on Manama, you're supposed to be better than this, the strongest in Class B. Manama. Just let me touch you and I'll show you. Izuku. Then I'll leave the chance to you. Manama was trusted to touch Izuku, but as soon as he arrived and touched him, he immediately moved away, while Izuku had a smile on his face, as if he didn't care what the blonde did at that moment. Manama. You're damn finished. Izuku. Just go to show. Manama would begin to draw fire from his body before the eyes of everyone who just watched. Manama. Now that I have your quirk I am unstoppable. He launched himself at Izuku to try to hit him with a water sphere, but when he did, everyone was surprised to see how he took it, as if it were nothing, while the water sphere transformed into ice. Manama. How? Izuku. What's wrong? You seem surprised by that. Manama. Damn you. He tried to kick him with electricity, but Manama's same electricity that was green was nullified by the blue electricity that Izuku emanated. Izuku. Come on, you copied my quirk, you have to do better than that. Manama. You'll see. He hardened his skin to try to hit him, but when he hit him in the cheek it did nothing, and it even hurt Manama more than Izuku himself, although it seemed like he had metal in his face to make him return to normal. Manama launched currents of wind that were cancelled out by small tornadoes from Izuku, who began to walk towards him with a smile on his face. Izuku. Come on Manama, do something better. Manama. I don't understand, why can't I get ice? I can't even do the same thing you do. Izuku. I forgot to tell you, maybe you can copy my quirk but only the basics, but while I was training, I was able to do something that you can't do, and that is evolve my quirk to a much stronger stage than that. Manama. No, damn you, I'll finish you off with the next hit. He said this as he began to shoot out a huge amount of fire from his arm, burning part of his clothes in front of Izuku's gaze, who began to walk calmly, as if he didn't care what his opponent was doing. Manama launched himself at Izuku, who made one of his arms turn into a giant fist of lava that ended up colliding with Manama's, who exploded at such a thing. When the smoke disappeared, Manama was unconscious on the floor with his arm burned. Midnight. The winner is participant Izuku. The boy left the place with great peace of mind while the next fight took place. Hendo. So you tricked Manama so you could humiliate him. Izuku. I didn't lie to you, I told you the truth. You copied my quirk, but if you didn't copy it completely, then it's your problem, not mine. Kirishima. That was great. Momo. Yes, but don't you feel tired? He said this as he approached Izuku. Izuku. No, I mastered this a long time ago, so the energy consumption is no longer the same, but much less. Yujiro. I expected a lot of things but never something like that. Izuku. Well, they have to start getting used to it. He said this as he began to sit down with great calm while they watched what the third fight was going to be. Present might. The following fighters went through the same thing as the last festival, the two are the hardness of their classes, representing the wall that is impossible to destroy, but the question will be which one will break between them, Tessu from class B and Kirishima from class A. Everyone celebrated as they watched the two climb onto the platform. Mineta. Place your bets on who's going to be the winner. Izuku. Poor Tessu, I feel almost sorry for him, he's going to suffer. Yui. I don't understand, why do you say that? Izuku. Well, in part, Kirishima is much tougher than Tessu, and thanks to certain things he trained with me, he is now not only tougher, but also faster, stronger, more flexible and more things, in short, Kirishima has this fight won. Mina. Yes, but it won't do any serious harm. Izuku. It depends. But that simple word I clear up everyone's doubts. Aoyama. What do you mean, it depends? Izuku. How much hatred Kirishima has for Tessu right now since I imagine that he is not going to be so soft, but he will do it as a man should do, hit until enough blood comes out to be satisfied. Mina. But I still don't understand, why would he do it? Izuku. Well, from what I heard from Kirishima himself, you like to do certain things while he's not there. Saying that, everyone had doubts while Mina was only afraid to think the worst that Kirishima could discover about her, until they heard a voice. Heimi. Did I arrive on time? Izuku. Yes, and that's exactly why you're going to see a little revenge from Kirishima. Heimi. Great, I want it to start now. He said this as he sat down where Kirishima had been. Heimi. I want it to start now. Tessu. I hope we have a good fight bro. Kirishima. I'm going to hit you so many times that I'll dye this entire platform pure red. But those words, a chill ran down Tessu's spine. Midnight. Begin. When he said that, one went against the other activating their quirks each time going faster until they arrived to hit each other in the face at the same time to start a scream from the people, but between the two Tessu feeling the blow he went back to little unlike Kirishima who followed with another blow to the stomach, followed by a kick in the face, throwing him to the floor so that he would go against him in order to give him more blows. When he got up Tessu couldn't avoid a blow to the face that almost knocked him to the floor since Kirishima grabbed him by the shirt to throw him towards him, only to follow up with a knee that knocked the air out of him, to give him another blow to the face throwing him to the floor. Izuku. You see, in a matter of seconds Kirishima already has the advantage in the fight. Lita. But he's being more aggressive than I thought. Uraraka. Why does he behave like that? Izuku. Watch the fight and you'll know why he does that, or at least when it's all over. Tessu. Hey Kirishima, why are you aggressive? Kirishima. And yet you ask. He said this as he landed a punch on his jaw, sending him crashing to the ground so that he would jump onto him, but Tessu spun around to avoid the blow. Kirishima. I'm going to enjoy it a lot. Tessu. Then I have to be more serious. He launched himself against Kirishima in order to defeat him, starting with a fistfight that began to go faster and with greater force, before the eyes of everyone who thought that those two boys were already tied. Kendo. Now they are tied. Izuku. No, he's playing. Mina. What are you talking about? Izuku. Look better, idiots. Kirishima and Tessu's punches seem the same, but if you look better you will notice that Tessu has more damage in his knuckles, apart from the fact that he expresses it with a pained face, unlike Kirishima who is calm. Seeing better they noticed that, so they had a smile on their faces, while Kirishima increasingly had Tessu cornered, who could not do anything against Kirishima's attacks until he received one in the face that sent him flying. Kirishima. Come on, this is just a warm-up. Tessu. Do you want me to tell you a secret? Kirishima. Which one? Tessu. Your girlfriend and I had a good time having fun in bed while you were just hanging out with your friends. Noticing that Kirishima had his head down, he thought he had given him a very strong emotional blow, so he launched himself in order to finish him off, thinking that he had control, but when he was about to connect a blow from one moment to the next, he received a blow to the stomach that knocked the air out of him, apart from spitting out saliva mixed with blood as he fell to the floor holding his stomach in pain. Kirishima. I already knew that stupidity. Tessu. How? Kirishima. Next time, lock the door, you idiots. He said this as he kicked Tessu in the stomach, lifting him slightly in the air, but suddenly he received a blow to the face that ended up burying him against the floor. Kirishima grabbed him by the leg to lift him up, followed by throwing him up a little. When he began to fall, Kirishima began to rain down blows on his stomach, causing him to start spitting out more blood without being able to touch the floor until at one point he stopped while Tessu fell to the floor, losing his hardening of the Izuku. Looks like it's over. Midnight. The winner is Kirishima. But that the red-haired boy walked off to see his companions. Kirishima. I won. Before they could say anything or Mina could rush to hug him, they watched in surprise, except for Izuku, as Kami threw herself at him, giving him a kiss on her mouth, which Kirishima reciprocated. Mina. What are you doing, Kirishima? Kirishima. It's not obvious, I'm kissing my girlfriend. But that everyone was surprised except Izuku, who was still calm. Mina. But I don't understand, if I was your girlfriend. Someone noticed Izuku's enormous tranquility, so a question arose. Jiru. Hey Izuku, you knew about this, right? Everyone looked at the green-haired man who stood up while stretching a little. Izuku. First, I better take a walk, sitting for a long time is very bad, and second, if I knew this for a long time, this doesn't surprise me since, so to speak, I helped them a little to get to know each other better. Mina. So it's your fault that Kirishima is cheating on me? Kirishima. He has almost nothing to do with this. Everyone looked at the red-haired man who seemed upset by those words. Kirishima. I sought help from Izuku when I saw you lying in bed having fun with Tessu, while saying that he wasn't man enough just because he didn't have hex with you. Mina. But I can explain it. Kirishima. No, you can't explain any of that to me since now I could see your true face and what you really do behind my back, that's why you can't do anything about it, and I sought help from Izuku because of that. Izuku. He came on his own to the club of the men who cheated on him. But that the two of them bumped fists with a smile on their faces. Kirishima. Now I just have to get you a girlfriend too. Izuku. No need, believe me. Kirishima. No, you helped me and I have to do the same. At one point a rope tied him to pull him to one side, causing him to end up sitting down. Momo. Not on my watch. Melissa. You're not going to take him anywhere just to get him a girlfriend. Kirishima. Okay, but just give me back my friend. Izuku. I don't know if I'll be saved from this. At one point I noticed a huge pillar of ice that almost hit them, but Izuku in a quick movement along with Kirishima, hardening their bodies hit the ice so that it broke into pieces, while they looked at how Todoroki was the cause of this, while he had Shoji trapped in ice who was trembling with all his limbs. Shoji. I think you went too far, Todoroki. He said this while trembling. Todoroki. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, I didn't mean to get carried away. Izuku. Hey, you almost hit us, idiot. Todoroki. A good voice, at least you're okay after all, this is nothing for someone like voice. Kirishima. And what about me? Todoroki. I still think the same. Midnight. Student Todoroki has won this fight and can go rest. Present might. UA's ice pillar has once again shown enormous potential when it comes to freezing things around it even more. Izuku. Whoever fights him will break the tangerine, deal. Kirishima. Deal. They said it in whispers while shaking hands signing the pact, while Todoroki looked at him who only began to tremble, feeling like something very bad was going to happen to him. Shoji. Hey Todoroki, it would be nice if you freed me. Todoroki. Yes, I do it now. He said this as he began to release it, and at the same time he felt the looks of the two boys who were more than angry. Todoroki's thought. I'm not getting away with this. Kirishima's thoughts. In my hardening form I'm going to kick him in the balls. Izuku's thoughts. In my hardened form along with a huge amount of fire to increase the speed and power of the blow, I'm going to kick him in the balls. 15. They thought about that while Todoroki felt like his private parts of him were in danger. Chapter 24. After the fight that took place between the boys, some like Todoroki, Izuku, Kirishima, Sedu and more went on to the next round, apart from the relationship between Kirishima and Kami, so that they could go on to the girls' fights, the first fight being between Momo and Jiru. They were in front of all the people who were more than excited about the fight that was going to be fought by the female side, since it was well known that before they were good friends with each other. Jiru. Believe me, Momo, I would like us to be friends again, but with everything that's been happening, I don't know if it will be possible. Momo. I think that doesn't matter now, only the fight we will have between us matters. Jiru. You're right. Midnight. Begin. Jiru launched herself at Momo with the intention of ending the fight quickly, but before she could do anything to the brunette, Momo managed to dodge her blows to take out her metal bar and hit her in the stomach, pushing her away. Kirishima. Hey Izu bro, who do you think will win? Izuku. That doesn't matter now because the fight is more than clear. I noticed that there was a kind of eagle in the sky trying to get him to get up from his seat. Todoroki. Is something wrong? Izuku. No, I have things to do from the looks of it. He began to walk away from the place, but before that he turned around a little, noticing how the brunette looked at this for a few moments. Izuku. Come on Momo, you can win this festival. He shouted those words a little, causing the brunette to hear them, while Izuku walked away from the place. Jiru. Hey, don't get distracted. He said this trying to hit him, but Momo spun around and kicked him causing him to fall to the floor. Momo. Don't think that just because of a few words of encouragement I'm going to be so easily distracted. Jiru. We'll see about that. The purple-haired girl launched herself at Momo trying to hit her, but Momo dodged masterfully until she noticed how she tried to use her hacks to connect with Momo, but she created a shield blocking them. Momo. You're going to need more than that. Jiru. If you want more than that then you will have it. She launched herself against Momo with clear intentions of finishing her off, but the brunette dodged her with great ease to create her metal bar, with which she began to hit the girl, as if it were nothing for her to contradict each movement of Jiru, who could not believe how the one who was once her best friend was now humiliating her, as if it were nothing while the people cheered for their favorite when more people supported Momo. Jiru. I don't understand, how are you so strong? Momo. I was just training for a while as hard as possible unlike you guys. He said this to give her another blow with his metal bar in the face, causing her to go into shock, so that she gave him another blow in the stomach, knocking the air out of Jiru who fell to the floor, but when she began to get up, she tried to go against Momo again, only for the latter to grab her by the arm and throw her off the platform, but Jiru managed to stop in time to notice that she was centimeters away. Jiru. That was close. Kaminari. Let's go Jiru. Jiru. Stay calm. When she turned to see Momo she received a blow from the metal bar, knocking her off the platform before the eyes of everyone who could only give a cry of joy. Midnight. The winner is Momo Yaoi Rozu. Momo. It seems that the one who got distracted in the end was Yujiro. Jiru. Whatever. Elsewhere Izuku walked until he stopped in a part where no one could see him. Izuku. I know you're there, just let me see you already. She looked at the sky for that eagle to come down and become a black-haired woman, blue eyes, white clothes, she had a body somewhat enviable to other women, as well as enormous beauty, and she stood out more with that serious look that she had as if that look was natural in her. Izuku. Long time no see, Brunold. Brunold. I'm afraid so, Izuku. Izuku. You can already tell me what's going on. I can hear you and you know it well. Brunold. I just came to see you because I was surprised that you could defeat a copy of Lubu. Izuku. You don't need to say that, we both know very well that that copy was hundreds of times weaker than the original. Brunold. That doesn't matter, it was still more than surprising that you fought against him. Izuku. Yes, but I have a good question. How's my mother? Elsewhere, not far from where Izuku was, Momo was walking calmly until she noticed how the group that was against Izuku stood in front of her. Momo. Now what do you want? Lita. Momo, you went too far in the fight with Jiru. Momo. I just did what I had to do, fight her and win. Kaminari. I do N''T care, she was your best friend. Momo. Like you said, she was my best friend, but she's not anymore. Kaminari. You knew she was my girlfriend and I guess you know that I don't care who you are, I'm going to make you pay. He said it with some electricity. Mineta. Please knock her out, I want to touch her a little. Kaminari launched his electricity against Momo who tried to cover herself expecting the damage, but when she didn't feel anything she looked ahead and Izuku was the one absorbing all the electricity. Kaminari. What the hell? Izuku. Looks like someone wants trouble right now. He said this as he started walking against Kaminari who was starting to feel scared. Izuku. Another one wanted to touch her. Mineta was now beginning to feel the same fear. Izuku. I know that in the next fight you're going to face Kirishima, right Kaminari? Kaminari. Yes, what's that? Izuku. The thing is, if you win, I'll make you suffer for what you tried to do just now. Kaminari was starting to tremble at that, but they heard a voice. Brunold. Izuku, don't try to do what I'm thinking you were going to do. Izuku. Come on Brunold, I'm just going to have a little fun. Brunold. You want to know or not? Izuku looked at her to sigh and move away a little from Kaminari who was still scared, although he was a bit foolish for that woman just like Mineta. Izuku. Then say it. Brunold. She's fine, she's safe, and she's with some people like Lubu, Adan, Sasaki and some of my sisters, they end up liking her. Izuku looked at her seriously with that and let out a long sigh as if he were relieved. Izuku. Thanks for that Brunold, I hope the others don't end up getting angry with you. Brunold. I don't believe it, after what I did to them before, they can't do anything to me. Izuku. It's true you gave them great humiliation at Ragnarok. The woman turned into an eel and began to leave before the eyes of everyone who was surprised, while Izuku began to walk away being followed by Momo, but before that he stopped a little to turn around seeing the group of boys who were scared by Izuku's gaze, that showed enormous fury. Izuku. As long as you guys plan to do something like what you were going to do before, I swear that this time Brunold will not save you from the hell that was going to come to you. Izuku walked away calmly, while the group of boys continued to tremble from that fear. Momo. Hey Izuku, who was that woman? Izuku. Her name is Brunold, a friend if you can call her that way. Momo. It seems that you asked him about a woman, who was she? Izuku looked at her for a few moments until he looked back down the path they were on. Izuku. It was my mother. That question surprised Momo who looked at Izuku in pure shock. Momo. But she wasn't. Izuku. Dead. Yes, she's dead. Momo. So? Izuku. That woman who dresses Brunold has the ability to pass both to the world of the living and the world of the dead, or in other words, she can pass between both worlds, although she stays more in the part of the dead. Momo. So that explains why when he said about Lubu, being that man was supposed to be dead, he named him. Izuku. Yeah, Lubu was a bit of a good man, and I fought him once, he almost killed me. Momo. So you faced the original Lubu? Izuku. If a small confrontation occurred, he himself came down to the world of the living and almost killed me with a single blow, not even using my quirk could I confront him. Momo. That sounds like someone very strong even if he is quirkless. Izuku. Yes, although I think he has a kind of overskill. Momo. About skill. Izuku. A person who doesn't have a quirk but has abilities that surpass those of a normal person. Momo. I see. The two of them walked to the stands where they saw the rest of their teammates. Izuku. How's everything going? Todoroki. You can see it yourself. They watched the last fight between Yura and Suku, who were fighting. The little frog tried to kick her, which was dodged by the brown-haired girl, so she could try to grab her with her tongue, but in the end it didn't work at all, since Yura touched her to start making her float, only to knock her off the platform in front of everyone's eyes. Midnight. The winner is Yura. Everyone gave a shout of joy at this as everything was watched by Class 2A. Kirishima. I think it's our turn now, who are you facing Izuku? Izuku. Against Sedu. The boy went down to see Sedu at the place, but the green-haired man had a smile on his face. Sedu. I hope it's nothing personal. Izuku. Calm down Sedu, it's not going to be anything personal, you can rest easy with that. Midnight. Begin. But that Sedu went against Izuku trying to hit him, but the green-haired man began to dodge it with great ease. Izuku. You know something Sedu, I'm going to give you a little advantage, I'm not going to use my quirk. But that everyone was surprised because the boy was not going to use his quirk. Sedu. You're lying. Izuku. What do I gain by lying to you? Sedu launched himself at Izuku who only dodged the boy's blows with great mastery, as if he were nothing while having a smile on his face. Sedu. Let me hit you. Izuku. If you ask for it, you get it. He stood still to receive a full blow to the face, lifting him into the air, but with a deadly twist, he fell to the ground on his feet with a smile. Todoroki. He let himself get hit. Kirishima. That's impossible. Sedu went against Izuku, starting to hit him in front of everyone's eyes, who were surprised by such a thing. Since Sedu asked him to stay still, Izuku began to let them hit him, as if it were nothing, until another blow pushed him away even further. Bakugo. That way Deku is going to lose. Kaminari. And what he said about how he would destroy me if I fought him. Hendo. This is a very idiotic move on your part. Momo. There is something that he has planned, only we are not seeing it, but what is it? They started to hear laughter, so they looked back, seeing Yujiro laughing at the fight that was taking place. Yujiro. It's Yujiro Hanma. Kirishima. But what are you laughing at? Yujiro. That brat actually dared to learn it, and from the looks of it he's just now about to use it. Hendo. What are you talking about? Momo. It's his movements, they're not the same as before. Everyone began to watch more attentively than before as Izuku received each blow until one last blow pushed him away, while Sedu took deep breaths from how tired he was. Sedu. Don't you get tired of getting hit? Izuku. What's wrong, Sedu? You didn't make me bleed. The boy looked closely to realize that he didn't even have a scratch on his body. Izuku. Anyway, it's my turn. He moved his body slowly to hit him in the stomach, which sent him flying, while he spat out a certain amount of blood, surprising everyone except Yujiro, who already knew what happened. Yujiro. The boy did it. Sedu. You weren't supposed to use your quirk. Izuku. And I'm fulfilling it, what I'm using is Shiori. He said this as he began to move slowly so that the classes would be surprised by it. Hendo. He never practiced Shiori, and he is using it against Sedu right now, that is incredible. Yujiro. That's why Sedu was the perfect opponent for Izuku. Everyone looked at him with clear doubt. Yujiro. If Shiori is about using the enemy's strength to his advantage, making the user stronger after certain hits, that means that Sedu and his brute force have no chance against Izuku. Everyone looked surprised at such an act that the blonde had just said while in the distance on a TV. A certain old man in a wheelchair watched this with a smile. Haku. Wow, that young man managed to find out. Everyone watched as Sedu tried to hit him, but it was too late. Izuku had already connected a certain number of blows that ended up not only knocking Sedu unconscious, but also knocking him off the platform, surprising everyone. Midnight. The winner is Izuku. The boy went to the stands. Todoroki. It seems like you weren't planning on telling us that. Izuku. I actually wanted to use it against Kirishima, but since Sedu introduced himself as my opponent, I decided to use it. Yujiro. It was an unexpected surprise. Izuku. I'm afraid so, no one expected you to use Shiori, not even you, Master Yujiro. The red-haired man stood in front of him with a smile. Yujiro. You are definitely a good student. Izuku. I learned from good teachers. The man began to leave the place with that smile, so that Izuku could only take Momo's side to watch the next fight. Chapter 25. After Izuku had fought against Sedu, showing dominance, and Shiori defeating him as if it were nothing against him fighting against the big muscle man with sugar, now they were following the fights, being that now they were with Kirishima against Kaminari, making these two go up to the platform, being that on Kaminari's side, a mocking smile, while Kirishima was only boredom as if nothing was going to happen for him. Kaminari. How much are you afraid to face me, the great Kaminari, whom you cannot confront in any way? Kirishima. I actually don't think it's going to be that easy to defeat you, to be honest, I don't expect anything special coming from you, that's why I know I've won. Midnight. Begin. The blonde immediately began to throw electricity at Kirishima, who could only begin to cover himself from the attacks he threw at him using his hardening. Present might. This is a great start. Participant Kaminari took the initiative by starting to throw electricity, making participant Kirishima retreat. Lita. If he has a chance to win, we can watch Kirishima lose. Izuku. Yes, I take control for the moment, but you should never trust each other, that's bad, believe me. They watched as at one point he managed to get Kirishima to the edge of the platform, causing him to kneel to avoid going any further backwards. Kirishima. Damn, I can't lose. Kaminari. When I'm done with you, you damn wretch, I swear I'll do my worst to you. Kirishima. What are you talking about? Kaminari. That girlfriend Kami, when I see how I beat you, I'll take her for myself and I'll do whatever I want with her, I even think I'm going to share her. All of this was heard by everyone watching this. Todoroki. I think it wasn't a good idea to say that. Izuku. Ha 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 ha. Bakugo. What are you laughing at? Izuku. He made a mistake. Something you should never do with Kirishima is threaten his friends, but if you want to die, then you just have to say something about his girlfriend. Saying that, everyone saw how he began to get up while his hardening increased, and now the electricity attacks did not work. Kaminari. What's wrong? Kirishima. I'm not going to have mercy on you, you bucking miserable pervert. They saw how he began to get dangerously close to Kaminari, who continued with his attacks on him, but these were useless against the red-haired man who once in front of him hit him in the face, sending him flying, causing him to crash against the floor. Kaminari. No, this is bad, I can't afford to lose. The boy let out a large amount of electricity, causing the whole place to start lighting up, but Kirishima walked as if nothing had happened, coming in front of him to hit him, knocking him to the ground, causing him to kneel in front of him. Kaminari. That hurts. Kirishima. If that hurts you, then this is going to burn. They saw how he hit him in the jaw, causing him to rise in the air, and when he was about to come down he kicked him, causing him to rise a little more, not letting him touch the floor, continuing in that way for a few moments, until when he came down, he grabbed him by the face to crash him into the floor of the platform, causing it to break, surprising everyone by the force of the impact of it. Kaminari. Damn it, have mercy, I beg you. Kirishima. Mercy? I don't know what that is when they mess with the love of my life. But the last words he made a certain pink-haired girl feel bad, while another began to feel safe for the boy and loved him even more. Kirishima. You're not even good enough for training, you're just trash like Mineta. I grab him by the leg to throw him off the platform, leaving a clear winner. Midnight. The winner is Yujiro Kirishima from Class A. Everyone gave a shout of joy at that, while the red-haired boy walked towards where Kaminari was to kneel down and say a few words that only he could hear. Kirishima. Keep in mind that next time you try to do something like that you will pay for it, and I will not be as merciful as I am now. He said this to begin to walk away from the place in front of Kaminari, who was only beginning to be afraid of that boy who gave him the worst beating of his life. Kirishima walked to the stands where upon arriving he was hugged by Kami, who gave him a kiss that he reciprocated with clear joy in front of the eyes of everyone, who felt good for the boy who was his friend on the side of Izuku's group, but a pink-haired girl approached him. Mina. I'd like to talk to you, Kirishima, alone for a bit if you let me. Kirishima. Okay. The two of them walked to a part where they were alone, and without knowing it they were being watched by Kami, who followed him having a bad feeling. Kirishima. What do you want to talk about? At one point the pink-haired girl lunged at him and kissed the red-haired boy, causing Kami's heart to start breaking, and she was about to leave crying, but she saw how Kirishima immediately took it out of her in a rough way that she noticed, only to stay and see him. Kirishima. What are you doing? Mina. Isn't it obvious? I want you back, Kirishima, I want to be with you at least one more time, give me a chance, and I promise to be the best girlfriend you've ever had. Kirishima. If that was it, then I'm afraid it's too late, I already have a girlfriend, and unlike other people I am loyal to her as she is to me. Mina. Do you really prefer that bitch Kami over me? Kirishima. First, don't call her a bitch. Second, I prefer her hundreds, not thousands, of times over you. Now leave me alone and keep in mind that you were unfaithful to me because you wanted it, not for anything else. He said this as he walked away from the place, and Kami did the same without being noticed, being happy about it, although Mina only began to cry for having lost Kirishima. The red-haired boy walked to the stand sitting next to Kami, who was only happy to hug him. Kami. What did they talk about? Kirishima. Nothing special, he just wants to get back together with me, nothing new. Kami. Well, if he tries, he needs to know one thing very well, and that is that I don't let my boyfriend cheat on me with anyone, and I don't plan on leaving him. She said this while hugging the red-haired boy affectionately, causing him to do the same, both of them being happy, although this was seen by a brunette who looked at the green-haired boy who was next to her, staring at him for a few moments. Izuku. What's wrong? Do I have something on my face? Momo. No. Izuku. Okay. The boy just looked back at the platform to see him hugged by the brunette, making him have a clear doubt about that. Izuku. And why is that? Momo. I just want to hold on to something. Izuku. Well, I don't know if you have to do it for long because now it's your turn to fight. Momo. It's true, I have to go. The brunette left mentally cursing the person who was going to fight with the same person, since she wanted to spend a little more time with the green-haired man. Present might. On one hand we have the president of Class 2A, the creator of everything Momo Yaoi Rozu. The brunette made her presence felt with everyone shouting her name Ella, while she had a serious look as she climbed onto the platform. Present might. On the other hand we have the happiest girl in Class 2A, someone who does acid everywhere, Mina Shido. The pink-haired girl was making her presence felt with a smile on her face, although it was somewhat forced due to what she had been doing in front of the girl while ago. Midnight. Begin. The pink-haired girl launched herself against Momo, trying to hit her with her acid that she threw from her hands, but the latter was able to avoid it by creating a shield to continue avoiding the acid that the pink-haired girl threw in abundance before the eyes of everyone, who only gave shouts of joy at the beginning of the fight between the two girls who were fighting. Mina. Momo, you're going to have to do me favors and forgive me at the same time. He said this trying to hit her, but the brunette was able to avoid it in order to kick her away from her. Momo. I don't think I'll accept that. Mina. I didn't even tell you what that was. Momo. I don't think it's a good idea anyway. She said this trying to give her another blow that Momo simply avoided by dodging it with ease, as if it were nothing in front of her, so that at one point the brunette, creating her trusty steel bar, gave her a blow, moving her away, making her take a few steps back, looking seriously at the pink-haired girl who was just a little angry about the blow. Mina. I need you to get Yura closer to Izuku. Momo. I don't understand why you want me to do that. Mina. It's so they can become couples again. She needs to get back with Izuku. We need Deku back among us, and not the monster we're facing that calls himself our partner. We want Deku back. But that Momo had her gaze down her, causing Mina to go against her to finish her off her, but before she could hit her, Momo kicked her in the face of her, causing her to move away. Momo. First it was because I tried to say such ridiculous words. Now he hit him in her stomach, causing him to spit out some saliva. Momo. Second, that was for calling him a monster. He is not a monster, but a human like us. Now she gave him another blow to her face, causing him to retreat even further from her, which only went against her again. Momo. Third, I have never considered them as companions. Now he hit him in the face, followed by a knee to her stomach, causing him to end up on the edge of the platform. Momo. Fourth, that was because of Deku. We killed him, and now we have to keep in mind that Deku will never come back to us ever. She was about to give him the last blow, but at one point the floor ended up breaking due to Mina's acid from her, causing Momo to begin to fall from the platform. Mina. You have to pay attention to everything around you if you want to win. They were about to give Mina the win, but a rope that Momo created at the moment before falling tied it to Mina, causing her to fall, and with a quick movement put her under her, and they ended up falling, although Momo did not touch the ground since she used Mina to avoid doing so. Midnight. The winner is Momo Yaoi Rozu from Class 2A. Everyone was surprised as they gave a shout of joy at that. Present might. Incredible, this is impressive, we never expected this fight to end this way. What do you have to say, Aizawa? Aizawa. I can only say that it was quite surprising the way he was able to react to regain control in the fight and thus win, although he did quite well. The brunette, when she reached the stands, walked until she reached where Izuku was to sit next to him. Momo. What do you think? Izuku. It was quite surprising, I never expected that move from you, to be honest. Momo. See, I was able to surprise you. Izuku. Although you have to pay attention to your surroundings when you fight and talk at the same time, just like the Martian said, you could have missed the fight if you defeated her. Momo. I know I'll be more careful next time, but I'm still happy knowing that I was able to surprise you. Izuku. To be honest, not much, not how much you thought. Momo. Please, it was a more than surprising move of late. Izuku. There are better moves. Momo. Accept it or I'll continue like this, you won't even be able to do anything about it. The two began to argue while being quite close until Todoroki's scream was heard in the distance. Todoroki. Kiss already and break the tension of the place that the fandom wants to see that. What he said only made the brunette blush while Izuku looked at him seriously. Izuku. Don't forget that you still have to receive your punishment from me. Todoroki. I think I just made a big mistake. Izuku. And one of the worst. But that the Vi color began to tremble. Chapter 26. Everyone was preparing to see how the fights would continue, since soon there would be the finalist of this tournament, that tournament with which everyone will end up, so that they know who is the strongest of the second year UA, both on the men's side and the women's side. Midnight. I hope you're all ready, now there's been a change of plans regarding the tournament and we'll be moving straight to the finals. Todoroki. It doesn't make sense, we barely managed to get 4 participants on each side. Kirishima. No problem for me, as long as we get our business done. Izuku. I say the same, I would like to end this once and for all. Todoroki. I already told you it was just an accident, you shouldn't get all worked up about it. Izuku. Start praying to your god to save you. Kirishima. Even if it's not used. Midnight. Now I would like the participants Shoto Todoroki, Ijiro Kirishima, Izuku Midoriya and Kitsuki Bakugo to come to the platform. But that the 4 of them jumped from the stands to the platform, landing on it. Present Mick. This is getting interesting, I think we'll be able to see who the strongest are. Midnight. Now Momo Yaoi Rozu, Tsuyu Asui, Achako Uraraka and Obara, I ask you to come down in the same way. The girls only came down to be on the platform. Izuku. Now what do you plan to do? Momo. Looks like we're going to have a free-for-all. Midnight. Now I would like you all to form teams of 2 people. Kirishima. Well, Todoroki, I think. He saw in a moment how the Vi color was next to Tsuyu almost immediately. Izuku. I think he can't be dealt with. Kirishima. And I don't plan on hanging out with Bakugo or Uraraka. Izuku. We're equal, that leaves us 2 to team up. At one point he began to feel a hand on his shoulder and Momo was the one who had a smile. Momo. It looks like it's going to be a boy and girl team, so we're staying together. Izuku. Sorry, buddy. Kirishima. It's okay, I can work with Ibara. He said it with a smile while the girl just stayed close to the red-haired man. Midnight. Since you already have the teams assembled, you should know something important. They're going to be team fights. Todoroki. So that's why he took us all down. Bakugo. This is gonna be easy. Uraraka. I'm ready to begin. Izuku. Keep your guard up, you know how they all are. Momo. Yes, but as long as you can protect me from Todoroki, I won't have any problems. He said this as they slowly began to watch as Midnight raised her hand. Midnight. You may begin. But that single word Bakugo launched himself against everyone almost immediately. Bakugo. I'll kill you all. Uraraka. Wait, don't just jump in like that. At one point Todoroki made a pillar of ice that lifted them up, Ibara created a shield that managed to cover them, and Izuku only raised a wall of earth protecting himself from Bakugo's explosions. Izuku. When I take out the shield I'll do my best to keep them away from you. Momo. Yes, I take care of the girls and I can help you from afar. When the ash-haired man stopped attacking almost immediately the boys went against Bakugo, managing to hit him with a blow that pushed him away. After that Izuku took Todoroki and Kirishima and with a few spins, threw them towards where Bakugo was. Izuku. Alright, let's get the party started. Those were his words as he charged everyone while Todoroki began to create ice to stop himself and Kirishima ended up touching the floor to stop. Kirishima. Wow, that was a low attack. Todoroki. Although if you think about it, it's almost a free-for-all. He said this as he threw some ice at Kirishima, hitting an ice pill on him. Kirishima. And now facing Todoroki is a bit more complicated. Bakugo. Hey, don't forget who's the strongest. He said this while trying to give explosions to Todoroki, who created a wall of ice to protect himself. Todoroki. And as always, you try to surprise with something new but end up doing the same thing. Izuku. In that case it's better if you touch me. The Vi color at one point dodged a blow from Izuku, who was charged with fire only for the ice wall to break and an angry Bakugo to emerge from it. Bakugo. Face me. When he was about to hit Izuku, out of nowhere a rubber bullet hit his shoulder, making him unable to attack, something that Izuku took advantage of to kick him that sent him flying. Todoroki. Where did that shot come from? At one point I look at Momo, who was holding an assault rifle. Momo. Too bad they're not real bullets, otherwise I'd be enjoying this. At one point I dodged some plants, being Ibara's hair, who looked at the brunette to continue attacking. Momo was only dodging until she created a shield and a sword beginning to cut that attack. Ibara. I'm sorry but I can't let you win. Momo. I was thinking of eliminating you myself, too. At one point he dodged a kick from Tsuyu, who was just beginning to jump against him. Tsuyu. I hope this doesn't affect our friendship. Momo. No, it's just a fight we'll have for a while. He said this as he launched himself at the frog girl. Elsewhere Kirishima was launched at Bakugo, who had to dodge him, while Izuku only tried to land a hit on Todoroki, who used his ice to protect himself. Todoroki. Don't even think you're going to stop me. Izuku. Your ice is really annoying, just leave a small opening and you'll see how I end this. At one point he was able to break through the ice to land a blow to Todoroki's stomach, causing him to step back while gasping for air. At one point Bakugo tried to take him by surprise, but with a twist, the green-haired man managed to land a kick to his head, causing him to fall to the ground. Bakugo. Damn, I'll kill you. Izuku. You're starting to bore me, Bakugo, always the same word, I'll kill you, and the same thing over and over again. You must have better words than that, I imagine. Bakugo. Shut your mouth, I'll kill you. Izuku. I figured you were going to say that. At one point I dodged an ice pillar that came from Todoroki and ended up crushing Bakugo in the process. Todoroki. I failed. Izuku. And you're going to have to use something better. At one point Kirishima tried to land a punch on Izuku, who managed to block it. Izuku. It's true, there is more than one. Kirishima. And I hope you don't mind us continuing like this. She said this as she began to continue hitting Izuku, who could only dodge those hard blows. With the girls, Momo was keeping Tsuyu at bay until at one point some debris that fell from the sky caused them to separate. Momo. And where did that come from? Sayu. I think we only have one person. At one point they saw Yura who tried to throw more debris while on the other side Ibara was preparing to attack. Momo. I think we can make a small trick. Sayu. You as Yura and I as Ibara sounds fine to me. He said this as everyone rushed to their own side, with Momo dodging Yuraka's attacks that she tried to give him only to end up receiving a hit from the same person. Yuraka. That hurts. Momo. Well, the idea is that it hurts. Yuraka. Damn, out of all the UA girls, you had to be the one to get my Deku out of me. He said this while lifting up a piece of rubble in hopes of hitting her, but the girl managed to dodge it and kick him. Momo. I didn't take him away from you, you yourself were the one who wanted to push him away by being unfaithful behind his back. Yuraka. That doesn't matter anymore because when my Deku beats you he'll see who's better and he'll know who he should go with. He said this as he tried to launch himself against a brunette who could only reciprocate in the same way by starting to hit her on different parts of her body. In Izuku's fight, the green-haired man was dodging everyone's attacks since Kirishima, Todoroki and Bakugo, if they had something in common at that moment, it was that their greatest threat was Izuku, who was now maintaining a fight with them. Izuku. Well now everyone agreed to attack me together to be able to defeat me. Kirishima. No offense Izu bro, but out of everyone present you are the one who represents the greatest threat in combat. Todoroki. If we eliminate you then we'll have a better chance of winning because we'll have to focus on each other. Izuku. Sounds good, but I don't think they'll keep it up for long. Kirishima tried to connect a punch that Izuku was able to take to lift him into the air, followed by slamming him against the floor and throwing him away. Bakugo tried to connect a punch along with his explosions, but in a second he was lifted into the air by a wind that Izuku created, so that with one jump he was above him and connected an axe kick, causing him to crash into the floor, causing him to end up injured. Izuku. Well, there are fewer and fewer of them, I'm just a little bit away from finishing. At one point he began to feel a current of air forming which was hot and cold at the same time, just so he could look at Todoroki who was using his quirk to the maximum. Todoroki. I plan to defeat you no matter how much power I have to use. Izuku. So you plan to do the same as our last festival tournament, sounds good. He said this as he began to make his arms start to emit some smoke. Izuku. Let's see who has the strongest hit. Todoroki. Victory is clear. He said it so that one would launch itself against the other. Todoroki's attack of ice and fire combined was against Izuku's fist, which only became lava only. When they collided they caused a huge explosion, so that it made a tremor, along with a taste of air, which caused some to fly out. Bakugo managed to stay somehow, Kirishima only put his arms underground. Momo ended up nailing her sword to the floor while the rest of the girls flew off the platform. Present Mick. Impressive, that attack was powerful and leaves us wondering who won in such a clash of attacks. Izawa. Last year Todoroki was the winner of that match, now Izuku is much stronger than last year, so it makes me wonder if he could really toughen such a thing. Present Mick. I don't think that matters anymore because we'll soon see who the winner of this match is. In the middle of all the dust that was beginning to go away, they could only see Bakugo, Kirishima and Momo who were staying inside the platform. Kirishima. That attack was too strong. Bakugo. Nerd Deku couldn't stand such a thing. Momo was only thinking about Izuku until they saw a line of destruction, at the end of which Todoroki was unconscious, while at the beginning of it was Izuku with one arm partially burned but still standing. Izuku. Looks like I was able to win this time Todoroki, although it was still a pleasure fighting you. He said this as he walked over to where Momo was and stood by her side. Momo. So you managed to resist it in part. Izuku. Yes, not completely but I'm still on the platform and can continue fighting. Momo. It's good to know that since we still have certain problems. He said this while looking at Kirishima and Bakugo who got into a battle stance. Izuku. So you guys are planning to fight together to get me out. Momo. Yes, despite everything, we are still the group that is still within the platform. Izuku. That's right, try not to lose, we just have to stay away from you. Momo. I guess you want to continue with this thing where one attacks from afar and another from close up. Izuku. Yeah, it'll be better than nothing. Bakugo. Hey you two are done talking, let's finish this. He said this as they began to get into combat stance ready for whoever would be the first to advance. Chapter 27. Everyone watched excitedly as the end of the tournament approached, with Izuku being left with his Raven as a group, while Kirishima and Bakugo were left on the other hand, beginning to prepare for whatever kind of things they might have to face. Kirishima. I don't like doing this kind of things, not with you anymore, but I have to accept that if we don't form a group, we will be defeated. Bakugo. So you want us to be able to fight together to defeat him, I think that sounds good anyway we have no other options. But that they launched themselves just like Izuku before everyone's eyes. Present Mick. This is impressive, it seems that they start fighting together to defeat Izuku, something I didn't expect before. Izawa. It's the best they can do right now, Izuku far surpasses them. But that, Kirishima barely arrived when he tried to hit the green-haired boy, who dodged it, followed by grabbing Bakugo's arm, who managed to throw him away, only for the ash-haired boy to jump and try to attack Izuku from behind, who hit Kirishima, who had no choice but to protect himself, until he ended up receiving a rubber bullet in his shoulder, causing him to complain of the pain. Something that managed to work for Izuku, who kicked him, causing him to fall to the floor for such a reason. Bakugo. Damn, I really can't handle this, he's too strong, but it's better if I get rid of his support first. The young man looked at the brunette to try to attack her, but at one point he was grabbed by her leg just so he could see that green hair moving on her. Izuku. Better focus on the biggest danger in the arena, basic survival stuff. But that he threw the boy away, causing him to crash against the floor and was going to continue if it wasn't for the fact that he dodged a punch from Kirishima, followed by more punches to the boy who was only trying to move forward. Kirishima. It's really a pleasure to have this kind of fight with you, Izu bro. Even if I can't win something, I know for sure, at least I plan to give my all in this fight. At that I noticed a smile on Izuku as he stopped to let me hit him directly in the forehead, causing him to bleed a little, but keeping a smile for that very reason. Izuku. Nice to hear that from you, friend, now let's see what you can really harden. The young man began to draw fire from his body as he punched Kirishima directly in the stomach, followed by a kick causing him to crash to the floor. The red-haired man got up in time to begin blocking Izuku's blows, who managed to feel the red-haired man's hardness until at one point Kirishima tried to hit him, only to be grabbed by the arm and thrown off the platform. Midnight. Kirishima's group has completely lost outside the platform. Kirishima. I have to admit, you know how to fight pretty well. Izuku. And I accept it the same way, you are very good. The two of them were smiling until they heard something. Momo. Be careful. But that the green-haired young man was pushed to the side, while the brunette ended up receiving a large explosion from Bakugo, causing the young man to look at this at such a thing, while his partner began to leave the platform, falling unconscious. Midnight. Momoyae Rozu is out. Bakugo. Too bad, I try to aim for one, but instead I end up with another, either way it doesn't matter. The young man just watched as part of the class went with the girl trying to get her up, but they couldn't do anything, she simply couldn't wake up. Izuku. I was reckless to leave you aside as if nothing had happened, I didn't take you for a danger, and this happens, now I'm really upset. Bakugo. Did you say something? When he looked at the green hair from one moment to the next, he ended up receiving a kick, causing him to fly out to crash against the floor, but before he left the platform, the young man gave him another kick, raising him into the air to receive a blow from the mallet. But that he went down where he raised his arm, stopping Bakugo's fall to throw the young man to the floor, who was beginning to get up with difficulty. Kirishima. What happens now? Todoroki. Without a doubt, he is very upset. But that they saw how Bakugo tried to give him one of his explosions, but his hand was hit by Izuku's, causing him to end up going somewhere else, where he ended up receiving a blow to the stomach, followed by another to the face, so that he ended up with 2 fists to his stomach, causing him to step back as he began to spit out some blood, as he began to kneel before the young man who was walking towards him. Bakugo. What the hell is this power? It's really bigger than before, more than I thought, I don't understand it. Izuku. Hey idiot, I think you found a coin on the floor, well now it's worth a lot of money. Bakugo. Why do you say that a coin has a lot of value? Izuku. Because I helped you kneel before me. But that he kicked his face, causing him to go back into the air, only to be grabbed by the leg and started to be whipped against the floor repeatedly in front of everyone's eyes, only for him to at one point receive a blow to the stomach that felled him to a part of the platform where he began to try to move. Midnight. Contestant Bakugo can still continue. Bakugo. It's pretty obvious that if I can, this is nothing to me, I can still kill this bucking nerd. The ash-haired man could only see his annoyed partner walking towards him, as if it were nothing, so that he would run against him, and with one jump he began to explode, while at the same time he was spinning. Izuku. As always being so predictable. Bakugo. Now I'll kill you, you damn nerd, you're going to fall to the next number 1. But that he collided with Izuku, creating a cloud of smoke before the eyes of everyone who was waiting to see the result of the fight, thinking that with that skill, he had to have defeated the green-haired young man, just so they could see how he himself had Bakugo's hand as if it were nothing. Izuku. You are strong, but you need more hate to match me. 11. Saying that, he grabbed the boy by the neck to slam him against the floor, then lifted him up to slam him against the same part repeatedly in front of everyone who couldn't understand how it was possible that the young man only showed himself more and more upset just to take out his wings like his tail, freeing Bakugo, who ended up backing away. Bakugo? What the hell are you going to do? Izuku? Come on, try to destroy me, kill me like you always say you're going to do, come on, do it, I won't even use my hands. Bakugo? You're an idiot. He tried to hit him, but the young man's tail began to hit him in the face without any mercy, making him back up until he was grabbed by the neck to be lifted into the air. He was going to continue with what he was doing at that moment until at one point he began to hear noises, but not from people, but from a part of the stands, to see how the brunette slowly began to open her eyes, to see the state of the young man beginning to worry about him. Izuku? You're not worth my waste time. But that he threw the ashen-haired man off the platform in front of everyone's eyes, only to see how the doctors took the girl away, only for him to get off the platform, well, he was declared the winner of the tournament. Kirishima. Hey Izu bro, are you okay? Izuku. If I just have to rest for a bit, I spent a lot of strength in this fight, to be honest. Okoyami. At least we saw that you have enough potential to easily humiliate Bakugo without any problems. The young man just walked past and straight to the infirmary, where he managed to see the brunette who was in a fairly stable bed. Izuku? Then you're fine, I see. Momo? Yes, it only left me unconscious for a while, nothing bad, now I think you won the tournament. I heard that when they were taking me away. Izuku? If only it took me a little while to defeat Bakugo and he showed resistance. In his words, the jet black woman only created a small piece of wood to hit the young man on the head. Momo? Don't try to lie to me. Izuku? But I'm telling the truth, he showed resistance, and in exchange he only took more hits. Momo? When I was able to open my eyes I saw how you had Bakugo in a bad state, something normal, and I didn't think anything bad until they brought me to the infirmary where I saw on TV part of your fight against him. I know the truth, you got very angry when he took me out. Izuku? It was just for a while, and I wasn't angry, to be honest, I just didn't like seeing how I could lose a very valuable companion who helped me a lot, it was just that, nothing more. Momo? There's nothing wrong with accepting things as they are, you just have to accept that you got too angry, and because of that you ended up kicking Bakugo off the platform. Izuku? Well, it was just a little, but nothing more than that. I got a little angry when I saw that you didn't wake up because of his attack, and it was my fault, I was reckless in letting Bakugo get close to me like that. Well, you only tried to protect me, nothing more. Momo? Anyway, you should try to let go of that anger sometimes, you know that we will always be there to support you. The young man just looked at the girl for her words from Ella that he was just beginning to think about until at one point they heard the door begin to open to see one of his teachers from Ella. Sniper? Well, it turns out Momo you're not too bad, you can come so we can finish this once and for all. Saying that, the brunette was only able to get up, having some help from her battle partner, only to go to the platform where the winning groups were given, leaving them in first place before everyone's eyes. Present Mick. How exciting, this is really very exciting with such a tournament where we saw how they defeated their teammates, they passed the tests, they demonstrated great power as well as great fights, without a doubt the best. Izawa. Although it may seem dramatic, it's just a fight, now we have to think about how things will continue there. Present Mick. And since All Might is going to hand out the medals last year, this looks so good. He said this as he watched how they began to hand out the medals while on the roof of the stadiums, without anyone noticing, only a few people were able to watch everything, Yujiro Hanma and Garou, who watched how they were giving out the medals. Yujiro. So much effort to prove who is the strongest just to receive some silly medals. Garou. It's interesting to see how things are going anyway. He said this while watching Momo and Izuku receiving the medals from All Might, who had his usual smile of his. All Might. Because of the effort they made and their great ability they received first place. Izuku? Yeah, whatever, just try to avoid hugs. All Might. But I thought you were going to want one. Momo. It's better not to do it, besides, some parts of our bodies hurt too much to be touched this way. Izuku. For now it's best to avoid any kind of contact, it's best for both of us. All Might. Sounds good to me then. The man walked away as everyone began to look at the winners. Yujiro. So are you going to say it or not? Garou. What the hell are you talking about? Yujiro. You know very well, I mean to end this once and for all, tell him the truth, because when he faced the entire class he was at one point covered in fog, something that his class took advantage of to attack. Garou. And what's so important about that? Yujiro. The boy is not an idiot, at one point during the fight he managed to feel some blows on his body, but they were not ordinary blows, but blows that were similar to those of the rock-shattering current. At that he saw her standing up while turning around. Garou. I have nothing to say to you about that, and I don't plan to tell you anything either. But that he began to leave while the man only looked at the young student he had there. Chapter 28. When the sports festival ended, everyone could only try to keep themselves under control, since they were only in the dormitories, although others were spending their time training, and in one part there were certain people talking to each other about some matters. Kirishima. So the sports festival was pretty tough, I still haven't recovered from some of the damage. Todoroki. Don't complain so much, I ended up getting the worst of it in some of those. Izuku. Well, to be honest, I didn't have it as bad as you guys say. Todoroki. If you're the one who beat the shit out of us all, I'm guessing you weren't going to have such a bad time in the end, it was to be expected. Izuku. Anyway, I don't think it's that bad, although I still don't understand what's going on to complain like that. Kirishima. Let's change the subject. Todoroki. What do you want to talk about now? I say that because we only have bruises and muscle pain from a certain green-haired guy who is in the same place training. Kirishima. Well, I thought there might be some girls who like one of you. Todoroki. Do you know that I'm with Tsuyu? No. Kirishima. It's just a topic since Izuku has a choice. Izuku. What the hell are you talking about now? Kirishima. Well, to start, there is Momo who always talks to you, in another part there is Melissa, the girl who got you out of being locked up for the longest time, another is May, the same girl who is in charge of watching your things, and to finish there is Najira, the girl who took care of your daughter. I suppose you have a choice. Todoroki. You can choose or have a mini harem, neither of those sounds so bad. Say if you want a mini harem, yes or no. Izuku. Well, I guess to be able to choose is. Before he could say anything, he began to hear the UA alarm that someone had broken into the gym, causing them to leave when they were expecting a huge group of villains, but instead Izuku's senses came like a truck at full speed. Kirishima. Where are the villains? I don't see them. Todoroki. This is bad without a doubt. Izuku. It's good to know that it's not a group, but the bad thing is who managed to get in to look for me. He said this with a smile as he looked at the part of the forest where a white-haired man with a smile was beginning to emerge. Garou. Looks like you prepared yourself for my presence, brat. Izuku. It's really good to see you again, master, but I don't think you came just for nothing. Garou. Obviously not, I came so I could have a fight with you, you know, one last test I want to give you before I end this. Izuku. Then let's have a little fight and see how we do in the end. The two began to get into a combat stance, waiting a few moments until at one moment they launched themselves in front of each other, only to bump fists into each other, followed by another fist bump, starting the battle, causing the martial arts fight to begin from 1 second to the next, in order to see who was going to be the strongest monster in the place. Kirishima. Impressive, they can keep a fight going between these two without having many problems. Todoroki. He said he is his teacher, so that means he is one of the people who taught him everything he knows right now. He must have enormous strength capable of being able to maintain a fight like that against someone with that potential. Kirishima. Yes, but the problem is that it is the human monster Garou, the most dangerous of all criminals. I don't think it would be such a simple matter to go against him. Todoroki. Maybe he isn't, but he is definitely someone very powerful. We circa N''T question Izuku's current power of him. We know better than anyone that he is someone capable of handling this power without problems. Kirishima. It's true, there's no choice but to watch. At that point they began to hear footsteps looking towards a part where the class was. Yujiro. What's going on? Sedu. I don't understand why these blows are serious. Mina. Or the tremors. Todoroki. Then just look at this. Saying that, they were surprised to see the fight between the two martial arts warriors where Izuku, with one blow, managed to make Garou himself retreat a little, drawing a smile on the young man who only saw this as a point in his favor. Garou. Hey, don't get too excited, the fight has just begun. But that he proceeded to kick the green-haired man who managed to block it only by the force of it to end up flying and starting to go through some trees that were in his path for a few moments until he turned around to stand up, although it took him some time to stop. Izuku. He really is someone very strong, it's not for nothing that they considered him a dragon-level threat, almost reaching that of a god. He said this as he looked at the human monster that launched itself against him, causing him to open his eyes and barely dodge the attack that hit a tree behind him, causing it to break. Garou. I guess I managed to make you more serious now, you decide to show what you are capable of with that form. He said this while looking at Izuku's semi-monster form, who took advantage of the distance to connect a punch in Garou's face, followed by a kick, causing him to move away, something that he thought to take advantage of to gain ground with another blow. But the human monster managed to stop his blow with his two arms, with which he took the green-haired man to slam him against the floor, followed by throwing him away only to launch himself again, but he didn't count on Izuku's body starting to let out some fire, so he could throw some balls of the same at him, something that the villain had no choice but to start moving away while dodging them. Izuku. You don't think you'll be able to beat me like always, this time I have the advantage. Garou. Despite everything, you seem quite proud of yourself, although I can easily tell that you Izuku. We'll only know when one of the two is lying on the floor and the other is standing claiming victory. With that he began to draw electricity from his body to launch himself against him, trying to give the villain a full kick which he managed to dodge, only to end up receiving a second kick from the boy, causing his face to end up on the floor. But Garou he didn't want to stop, so using his hands, he managed to jump upwards, leaving the floor while doing some spins, and when he fell the young man could see how his hair changed. Garou. If you decide to get serious then I guess I should do the same. Izuku. Now I really must not hold back or I have a chance of dying. The two of them launched themselves into combat again in order to start bumping fists with each other, and they kept it that way with the human monster trying to take the lead over the young man who was doing the same until at one point, Izuku managed to grab the man, only to spin and lift him into the air, followed by slamming him against the floor. Although Garou did not stay with his arms crossed, going on to take him with his legs to lift him into the air and make him end up on the floor in front of everyone's eyes, who were surprised by such a thing, only for the green-haired man to turn in one movement to kick Garou, who did the same thing causing him to end up going to different sides. Lita. Impressive, these two are really on par. Yujiro. I can't believe he's fighting the human monster, a villain capable of destroying an entire city by himself without much trouble. Sedu. It's definitely something I didn't imagine from them. Jiru. Although I still don't understand what they're doing fighting like this, I mean they have plenty of places to fight. Kirishima. It seems like they really want to fix things as soon as possible, although to be honest, I never imagined something like this that these two were capable of, they really are impressive. Aoyama. Enough that even a fight between these two monsters is scary. Todoroki. Although if they continue like this they will destroy everything in their path, and if it continues like this, then it doesn't leave us many options but to intervene in their fight. Momo. Wow, they are two huge idiots. Kaminari. But how can you say that? He's the human monster we're talking about, if he hears you he'll kill you. Momo. It's all better if I interfere in this fight. He said it while he began to walk towards the fight, while in the same Izuku came to step back to see how his master launched himself against him, trying to connect a blow only for the young man to end up blocking it by making a wave at the impact of the two bodies, only for him to take him by the head to be able to knee Garou, who went on to grab him by the head in the same way to the green-haired man. They slam him against the floor making a slight tremor, although Izuku did not want to stay as if nothing letting out a large amount of fire from his body, causing the man to barely be able to dodge it, something that he took advantage of to launch himself against him, trying to connect a blow to his face almost achieving it, but Garou dodged it to let it pass along, something that he managed to take advantage of to grab him by the leg, followed by making some turns to throw him away and launch himself against him connecting another blow, causing the green-haired man to end up outside the forest, like the human monster that was about to follow, but ended up stepping back by a kick to the stomach of the green-haired man, only to kneel down as Izuku tiredly tried to get up. Izuku. This is truly a great fight, there is no doubt about that, master, but good things have to come to an end. Garou. It seems like you have something planned at the end of all this if I'm not mistaken, a surprise that not everyone has. Izuku. To be honest, yes, I wish I could end this fight with one last blow that has all our strength, that way we will know who is the winner at the end of all this. Garou. I guess it's the best way to end a good fight, whoever is still standing after this last attack is dealt, will know if they really have a chance of continuing well. Izuku. Then it is a fact we will end this fight as soon as possible, no matter how or what happens we must do it. The two began to walk followed by increasing their speed little by little to be able to finish that fight with a blow, but at one moment Garou ended up receiving a blow to the head from a stick while Izuku was kicked from above, causing them to stop fighting. Garou. Now what the hell happened? Izuku. What do I know, I just know that something hit me. At that point they noticed a certain brunette standing between the two of them with an annoyed look. Garou. What are you supposed to do? Momo. What are you two supposed to do? Izuku, you find yourself fighting near the academy where Eri is, and in the same way you don't have to fight. Izuku. I'm sorry. Momo. As for you, you are really an adult now, you can't go around doing this everywhere, making other people look bad because otherwise, try to arrange a place where you can fight Izuku, please dad be a little more aware of things. All. Dad. They were shocked to hear how the human monster was actually Momo Yaoirozu's father, that busy man who didn't get to go many places, even Izuku stared at this in pure surprise at such a thing. Chapter 29. At the UA everyone was still processing things, even the director and teachers who went to the academy after the attack and were informed of everything. They were left with their mouths open up to 20 meters below the ground, and now they only had a dark-haired girl sitting somewhat nervous while Garou winged her, as if he didn't care about anything, even putting his feet on the table. Izuku. So Garou, you are Momo's father from what I heard. Garou. And you did well, brat. Now we must continue the fight where we left off. Momo. They won't fight again if you don't want me to call mom, and you know how she gets with these matters. Saying such a thing, the human monster began to tremble at such a fact. Izuku. And why didn't you tell me? Garou. You didn't ask me. Izuku. I asked you if you had a family and you said no. Garou. A more direct question. Izuku. He even did it, but if you had a daughter or son. Garou. But you didn't ask if I had a daughter at UA. Izuku. That was the least possible. But that some declared their heads, as it was almost impossible to believe that the human monster, one of the most dangerous people in the entire world, was the father of the most intelligent and kind student at UA, comparing their personalities. Momo. The good thing is that I'll stop pretending and I'll be able to show my true abilities to all of you. Todoroki. But haven't you ever done it? I mean, there must be at least one time. Izuku. If there was a time where he did it, when I returned to UA and everyone fought against me, when I was caught in the steam, my instincts would have avoided any attack, but when I could receive a flurry of blows it would be normal. But the strange thing was that those blows had the same process. When using the Garou style, it was as if he hit me himself, but I put it aside, believing it was a thing of my mind. Momo. Well, now you see that I'm not a delicate flower. Garou. Of course my daughter is a bucking carnivorous plant and you are her prey. Izuku. But I'm your student. Garou. I care little or nothing. Kirishima. So in that case it means that from now on Momo is like some kind of human monster just like you. Mineta. And if we think about it, that makes it hexier. A dwarf and a certain blonde were beginning to have ideas in their minds, but they were silenced by an enormous killer instinct to look towards a part where Garou was staring at both of them in the same way, only letting his eyes be seen. Garou. What did you just say, garbage? Mineta. Nothing, I didn't say anything bad, please don't do anything to me. Those were the words of an intimidated Mineta who was only afraid as the human monster stared at this. Izuku. Fine, but that means you had something to do with when I made part of Iria monster by giving her my blood. Momo. If the white parts like being able to disappear were because of me, then you can see that it really is a good thing. At that the little girl who was present only began to analyze things in depth while looking at them. Iri. So that means that if Izuku gave me her blood and made me her daughter, then at the same time I am Momo's daughter and that makes them my parents. The young man and Momo were left thinking about this, seeing that he was telling the truth since he was quite right about the matter, while they watched as Garou stood up to approach the girl, kneeling down, staring just so she could smile so she could hug him. Momo. It seems I already accepted. Iri. Hello grandpa. Everyone thought it was fine until Izuku noticed something. His master's face was dark, nothing could be seen while he slowly trembled. Garou. He has my white hair, the smile of my little girl when she was little, that little horn I thought my baby was going to have, and not only that, he seems to have the same part of being like the true heroes, just like my only student. This only means one thing, if even his monster form is half of them too. Momo. Hey dad, are you okay? Izuku. I think it's the impression of having a granddaughter now. And that they saw how he got up while little by little, his murderous aura began to come out, causing the UA minus his daughter and Iri to feel it, so that the rest began to tremble with fear, but Izuku managed to notice something in time. That murderous instinct was going straight to him, so he went to put his bags away, while he closed the door little by little, confusing everyone until the inevitable happened. Garou. Miserable, before going to Tartarus you got my pregnant baby and you didn't tell me anything. By saying that, instead of taking the door like a normal person, he ended up breaking a wall of the bedrooms, while Izuku, who was leaving little by little, saw how the human monster fell to his side, destroying the floor, making him only able to do one thing. At the scream, the young man began to run away from the human monster who only wanted blood at that moment, beginning to do everything possible to save himself as soon as possible from his head ending up separated from his body or something worse. Garou. Come back, wretch, I'll castrate you, then I'll take out your heart and finish with your head, wrap it in an exclusive gift box to send to the Chinese for their dogs to eat. The class watched as large explosions began to occur everywhere, making it clear that he was trying to kill him. Momo. I think it's best if I try to do something about it before they kill him. Some girls who were jealous of seeing how the brunette was ahead of them because of her green hair, or so they thought, she just wanted to have a chance. Najire. We better accompany you as reinforcements. Melissa. That's right, you probably need us for this kind of thing. Momo. Well, thank you. I really need something like this. Those were the words of the brunette as she began to leave the place with the girls while Izuku was just running. Izuku. Understand, she is an adopted daughter, I didn't do anything with her daughter. Garou. I'll kill you, damn it. The young man arrived at his motorcycle and got on it alone to start leaving the place as soon as possible until the human monster calmed down, but he began to hear a strange noise and looked towards a part where Garou was still following him, but with a char. Izuku. Where the hell did you get that from? Garou. Power of the dog fic, power of the fic. The young man looked at this to launch a missile from his motorcycle, making a cloud of smoke that when leaving there was the same monster, but now on another motorcycle, only for that reason to launch another bullet at his tire, doing the same thing as before, but now he came out with a bicycle, confusing the young man more who only did the same thing, so that now he was replaced by some skates causing them to launch another attack so that he would come out again, but now with a butler from the Yaoi Rozu house, and Garou himself on top of the same one running at full speed. Izuku. Wow, that's unstoppable. The young man at one point, due to not seeing the path, ended up flying off a rock, only to try to keep running, but was caught by Melissa with some threads, while Nejire only aimed at him like Garou with her quirk, and Momo stopped her father with a blow to the head. Melissa. They need to stop doing this kind of thing. Momo. You barely get here, dad, and you already want to kill him like that. Garou. But baby, that's a bad boy, I won't let him get close to you anymore. Momo. If you mean Eri, she's just her adopted daughter, even though part of her blood has my genes, you should still understand. Eri. Although I accept that Nejire can be called mom since she took care of me more than Momo, therefore 2 moms and a dad. Garou. Okay, I won't kill him for the moment, but only for the moment, nothing more than that. He said this as he began to walk away from the place before the eyes of everyone who was only beginning to relax because of this fact, since luckily the human monster did not try to kill him, but not before giving the young man one last look that only managed to scare him, since this only made him more intimidated. Izuku. I think I'll sleep with my room locked, surveillance equipment like a motion detector, and a grenade under my pillow in case he comes back. Momo. I don't think I'll do that, or well, not entirely. Izuku. I'm definitely dead without a doubt. Nejire. Let's celebrate that the sports festival is over and we have new winners at least. He said this so that everyone would leave the place walking little by little since night fell, and everyone was celebrating a little for the sports festival, something they wanted to do with the director's permission, plus Class B, along with the 3 former greats of the UA, all while a certain green-haired boy was sitting in one part and his friends began to stand next to him. The young man with 2 halves in his hair and another with completely red hair. Todoroki. You don't look very cheerful despite winning the sports festival. Izuku. It just happens that I have nothing to do about it, I have no idea what's really going on. Kirishima. I guess love has finally reached that hard, dry and cold heart of yours. Izuku. Yes, but the problem is that I don't know who. Todoroki. Then tell us the names and we will gladly help you in any way possible. Izuku. Well, to start, this is Nejire, who is like a mother figure to Eri, always taking care of her and all that. I really don't know what to do about that detail. Kirishima. It's one next part that we're missing. Izuku. Well, this Melissa, she takes care of my safety and how to prove the evidence that proved my innocence despite everything, although I accept that when she got on my bike, she almost blew us all to pieces, but she always has that smile. Kirishima. Is there anyone else? Izuku. Yes, Momo, she simply had a smile for me, despite everything she wanted to protect me, even more so when my innocence was proven, and we always had a lot in common. Now with this case that her father was one of my teachers, it only makes things worse for me with my feelings. Todoroki. Well, we're actually in pretty big trouble with you, but we're going to help you. Izuku. Why do you want to do that? Todoroki. Well, after the headbutt you gave me a while ago defending Momo from me, thanks to that I was left in quite a bit of pain, Sayu helped me get to the medical wing, and from that point we got to know each other better, until we became what we are today. Kirishima. With me you know that Mina left me, and when I most needed help from people you introduced me to Kami, making all my internal loneliness begin to go away thanks to you. For those tickets we had a chance. Izuku. Now that I say it is true, thanks to me doing that they could be better. The boy smiled at that while certain girls began to approach a group where Momo, Kami, Melissa and Sai were talking to each other, but as soon as they arrived the problems began. Uraraka. Look, friend, the biggest bitches there can be in the academy. Mina. None of you deserve to be with them. At that they looked at the 2 who were slowly beginning to be joined by the rest of the group of girls who were present. Momo. Excuse me? I don't understand what you're referring to or why you're insulting us like that. Uraraka. Come on, don't act like you've taken away what I love the most right now. The brunette and the pink-haired girl were referring to Kami and Momo specifically, starting to create a ruckus in the place. Chapter 30. At the academy, many noticed how the brunette and the pink-haired girl were against the two girls since their boys were about to go, but they just stood still when they saw how the girls secretly made a sign not to do anything, that they were going to take care of the matter. Uraraka. Damn bitch, I'm sure you did something to my Deku-kun to make him end up being a bloodthirsty machine. Mina. And on your side, cursed from another school, you undoubtedly used your disgusting body to attract my beloved Kirishima. The girls seemed somewhat serious as they accused the others of such a thing, until they ended up receiving a slap from the same girls, causing them to back off a little. Momo. I don't know how they are able to say something like that. Kami. You pushed them away like that, you let yourselves be sold off to other guys as if it were nothing. Momo. You acted as if you didn't really have boyfriends, without thinking about their feelings or how they were going to feel, you acted as if you weren't worth it, and that really dislikes me about you too. Kami. If you ruined everything between you, it's not our fault, now you better not bother us again, because we won't just give you a slap to make you see reality. The group of girls began to move away from the other two, who just stared at them in such an angry way without knowing that in truth, being stubborn, they were not going to learn from something like that. Izuku. I wasn't expecting an answer like that, to be honest. Kirishima. I didn't expect it the same way either. Momo. Well, I think we can continue with the party, we can't just let them come and ruin everything. Kirishima. I definitely love my smoke girl. Izuku. If it wasn't for me. The group could only continue with things like the green-haired boy thought he was going to have to do something with the brunette because he understood that she had N''T really learned anything from the brunette's words from her. The next day he just went straight to Melissa's workshop where he had to step over some unconscious drunks from class A and B since they didn't know how to control themselves for the most part. When he got to the blonde's workshop, he could only knock on the door waiting for an answer. Melissa. What's happening? Izuku. Hey, I think you're a little busy. Melissa. Are you Izuku? Hi, it seems you managed to wake up well, apparently. Izuku. Yes, on your side I can notice that you are not as drunk as the rest of the group apparently. Melissa. No, well, if you came for the motorcycle, I have great news that you might love. Izuku. Like which ones? The girl then walked straight to the motorcycle, where upon removing it from her place, she only saw that it was normal. Izuku. What's wrong with the bike? I can't understand it. Melissa. Well, I made some changes to it. Now it can use a steel hook to be able to stick to the wall. It is capable of being on inclined surfaces, among other things, like walls, thanks to spikes that it has hidden in its wheels. It is almost all-terrain since it can be on the sand. It has more compartments and new weapons. Izuku. Wow, I didn't expect you to actually do something like that. You really surprised me with this kind of detail. Melissa. Well, you shouldn't have expected that from someone like me. Izuku. Maybe I'll try it, do you want to go for a ride with me? Melissa. How? Izuku. Well, I'm going to take a walk. I don't want to use it only for missions, and I think its creator is the one to be able to see if there are any flaws. Melissa. I think I can accept this. The girl just went to get ready so that after a short time she began to leave the academy by motorcycle. Everything was seen by a brunette who managed to feel a little bad. Momo. So you've already chosen, apparently. Kirishima. Vala, I didn't expect him to do this kind of thing, in the end he really does follow our advice. Todoroki. I just hope he is capable of making good choices and that his feelings help him. Kirishima. Although he still has to be with the rest to know who exactly he can be with. Momo. What are you talking about? The two boys just noticed the presence of the brunette making one take a newspaper while drinking coffee, and Kirishima started playing video games. Todoroki. We're just talking about how things stand at the moment. Kirishima. The graphics of this game are very good. At one point, two knives were stuck near some of the boys' private areas, allowing them to see the brunette who was creating other knives in her hands. Momo. You better start talking or you'll get closer. The two of them began to tremble, hugging each other at such a thing, and it was worse when Tsuyu and Kami began to appear behind the brunette, who managed to keep up with things. But Izuku, the young man, was alone on his motorcycle testing it until at one point he simply happened to be on a road where Melissa was simply hugging his back. Izuku. Well, I think it's time to test one of the mechanisms that the bike has. Melissa. Which one do you want to try? The blonde noticed how the young man had a look towards the part of the cliff that was against the sea. Melissa. Of course not, don't you dare. The young man ignored it, he just went straight towards the sea, managing to jump with the same motorcycle, beginning to scare the same blonde, who clung even tighter than before to the green-haired man, who at one moment caused a kind of hook to come out of the motorcycle that stuck in the rock, throwing it towards that part where, upon arriving, it only caused those spikes hidden in its wheels to come out, clinging to the rock, beginning to walk along it until they reached a beach where I jumped to land without problems, with a smile. Izuku. Not bad, you really took care of giving this bike your best, you really are great Melissa without a doubt. Melissa. Don't do that kind of thing again, you really scared me. Izuku. Come on, we're safe, that's the important thing, we tested the bike, we're safe, nothing bad happens. He said this as he began to get off the bike, still smiling. Melissa. But we were likely to fall into the water and I didn't want that, it was going to end badly. Izuku. Hey, I'm not going to let you down. You're one of the closest people to me and I would definitely never let you down. And if someone tried to make you down, I'd do everything in my power to prevent that from happening. He said this while helping her to get down, where he managed to make her blush at something from the green-haired man who stared straight into her eyes, making her turn around, while she couldn't understand something about how it was possible that he was capable of making her feel that palpitation in her chest. Melissa. I think the best thing is to be able to find something to eat, I guess that's something for now. Izuku. Luckily, there might be a taco stand near this place, we can take advantage of that kind of place to go in and eat something. The girl began to accompany the young man to a stand where they managed to find exactly those tacos, where they only began to eat a little to be able to enjoy the moment they got to have alone in that place. In the academy there were only 2 girls almost dead, while there were another 3 girls in front of them looking at the same ones. Sigh. Then Izuku can't choose. Hey me. This kind of thing makes a bit of sense now. Sigh. But now it remains to be seen how things progress. He said this as they looked at the brunette who was surprised, not knowing exactly how to respond to this type of matter, because it was truly something that took her by surprise. Back on the beach, the green-haired man and the blonde were lying on the sand, where they managed to get something to put under them like an umbrella where they were looking at the sea, while the blonde herself was in front of them, and he was just behind them, calm. Melissa. You seem to know this place pretty well, apparently. Izuku. Why do you say that? Melissa. Well, it's just that you know where every food stand is, you know where to stand so the sun doesn't hit us completely, you know exactly how things work in this place, but I can't understand how you know that. Izuku. Well, this wasn't a beach before. Melissa. What are you talking about? Izuku. Well, this place used to be a garbage dump, the trash was collected in huge amounts of mountains, something I never understood before about a beautiful place. Melissa. And how did it end up like this? Izuku. Well, let's say that I simply ended up being found by All Might in the past, he chose me as his successor, so as training I had to clean this entire beach as much as possible. Melissa. And when you finished cleaning it you just left this place like this? Izuku. Exactly, the truth is that even if All Might hadn't told me and I had discovered this place before, I would have cleaned it a long time ago. Melissa. Despite everything that's happening to you, you undoubtedly have a pure heart, more than I thought. Izuku. Why do you say that? Melissa. Well, ever since I met you, you seemed interesting to me, always doing things for the good of others. I could even notice how much you cared about your friends at that time, how you were doing everything possible to defend them and take care of them. Izuku. I see, so he really did show that kind of thing in the past, which is something I didn't expect to be honest. Melissa. It's just a little while that we have to wait for things to get better, even though the League of Villains is still free, you'll simply be able to take care of us, you always find a way to do it and surprise us, I have no doubt about that. Izuku. I think it's true, I must find a way to protect them from that, I have no doubt. Melissa. And what do we do now? Izuku. I guess we'll just wait and enjoy the moment we have, because when we get back we'll have to put up with the whole class being so annoying again. Melissa. That's right, I completely forgot about that kind of stuff with those idiots. Izuku. I know they are idiots, but as long as I am inside the academy, I will make sure that those idiots do not end up ruining everything or doing something bad to the point of affecting us too much. He said this as he began to hug the girl from behind by her waist, showing a little nervousness, almost being the same Izuku from that past, where the young man was simply nervous, as at the same time he was not able to control himself completely, drawing a smile on the girl who took his hands to stay stuck to him. After a while they were only returning to the academy at night, where upon arrival they only entered the workshop where they left everything as it was before and went out to see the entire class A or almost all of it. Lita. Where were you? You know you can't just leave whenever you want. Izuku. I actually can, and you better not bother me now because I'm actually in a good mood. Lita. What are you talking about? I'm your president and you can't talk to me like that. The boy tried to take him by the shoulder, but the same green-haired man went on to land a punch in his stomach, causing him to kneel before him. Izuku. Don't bother me, I had a nice afternoon with Melissa, and I would like for this time we've had together to continue being good. The girl could only notice how the young man behaved in a rather protective manner, making those beats in her chest as she came back as if nothing had happened. Chapter 31. At the UA Academy everyone was resting without having any more problems at hand completely for these same ones, but a certain young man with green hair was running through the training yard running without having anything else to do at that same moment so that he could continue with his routine, lifting some weights for the moment without much effort until he began to receive a visit from someone. Unexpected. Najire. Hey Izuku, it's been a while since I saw you train like this. Izuku. Hey Najire, let's just say this kind of thing is just a turn on for me, nothing more than that. Najire. I know, I already saw how you fight at the sports festival, and to be honest, I never imagined that you were capable of reaching that level. Izuku. I guess no one could have thought that those kinds of things were capable of being achieved with what he was when he just entered this academy, it's totally different if we think about it and remember it well. Najire. Well, I came with you on a very important matter, let's say that Eri is still with me, and she really wants to have more visits from you at least, that way you will be able to show it even more than before, that you will always be there for her at all times. Izuku. Now that you mention it, it's true. I haven't been with Eri for a long time. I should see her a little more often at least. I think this afternoon I'll be able to visit her. Najire. Well, if you say that I have no problem, anyway I was thinking about going to the park with her so she could have some fun. Izuku. Well, I'll be there in a while, maybe she'll be a little happier to see me like this, without having to fight or do something different that is between heroes. Najire. Then goodbye and don't take too long. In that way he began to leave the place without having anything else to do, while Izuku could simply continue with his training where when he finished he could simply go have a little breakfast before the entire class got up since his friends like others were already up. Soon he was leaving his room freshly bathed in that way being that in truth he was beginning to walk towards the exit and he was going to do it in order to remain calm if it were not for a very important matter that got in his way without having told it before being able to do it. Lita. Where do you think you're going? Izuku. That doesn't matter to you, I'm just going to leave quietly without doing anything else. Lita. Not at all, you always leave without saying or doing anything about it and when you come back it's always questionable to be honest. Izuku. What do you want to talk about with that? Lita. Not at all, I'm the one who asks the questions. But those simple words he ended up against a wall with Izuku's hand on his face, where he simply lifted him slightly in the air, without being able to do anything at least feeling the fear that the green-haired man truly gave away from the fact that he could truly feel that monster strength that he had increased in a short time, despite it being a simple grip. Izuku. Let's make some things clear with the entire class, since we are here to be able to listen quite well, since they turned their backs on me, we are guided by the law of the strongest by far, therefore I am the strongest by far of any of you, Todoroki being the only person in this class capable of being able to take a bit of my power to make me literally strive, I am the one who commands. I am the one who shows what is done, I am the one who should not be bothered, and I am the one who asks the questions. But that he simply let the blue-haired man go as he fell to the floor without much more interest at all, while he only managed to think about one thing. Lita's thoughts. It really is a monstrous force, I swear I saw a monster on its back, this makes no sense at all. Izuku. And for your answer, since I'm feeling in a very good mood today, I only plan to go see my daughter, nothing more than that, therefore if you think about bothering me to go so I can be with Eri, I swear I'll cut you into pieces alive, insignificant insect. Uraraka. Then I can go with you, I'm sure Eri will really be happy to see me. Izuku. Of course not. Uraraka. But he really likes me too much. Izuku. And I remind you that ever since I managed to return to UA, she hates you because you betrayed me like a bitch, therefore she doesn't even want to see your face. Kirishima. What about me? I'm sure you want to see your tough uncle. Amy. Or the Aunt of Illusions. Izuku. Sure, it'll really be nice of you to be able to do that kind of thing. Todoroki's thoughts. He really has them by those names, well he thinks of me as a stove with legs or ice cubes. But that they were left to have a little chat and it didn't take long for them to get directly to Najire's house, where, upon doing so, the little girl simply looked at her father with a smile and ran towards him where she jumped and hugged him, where he did the same in front of Najire and her friends. Eri. You really came. Izuku. And why wouldn't I? If the world is being destroyed little by little, but I have to go see you in the park since you enjoy things, then I clearly choose the second option, I can always give you some time to be together. The girl hugged her father tightly while Nijire approached little by little just to have a smile. Nijire. I really kept asking about your rival, she really misses you right now. Izuku. Well, now that I'm here with you, we can just go to the park, there's no time to waste. The group began to leave the place without having any more options at all, where simply by arriving at the park, they began to feel a little comfortable to be able to start with things once and for all sincerely and truth, while Kirishima and Kami began to spend time with Eri acting like real uncles. From a little far away was Izuku with Nijire watching as they were playing together. Nijire. It's nice to see her smile, I really enjoy seeing her like that. Izuku. It's true, nothing can compare to this very moment, it really is something magical, no matter how you really want to do it. Nijire. I guess so, but we still have to do something about the League of Villains. They can't keep running wild with all the things they do, really. The looser they are, the worse the details will be for all of us. Izuku. It's true, to think that it's curious that we really do look like a family this way, just another type of things are missing and voila, things are ready. Nijire. Well, in that case I can always make my bed a little bigger so we can keep each other a little better if you really like things. Izuku. I'll think about it a bit in that case if it's okay with you, we just have to be able to move a little more. Nijire could only lean back a little towards Izuku's side of her, resting her head on him, while in the distance Kirishima was looking at this with a real smile. Kirishima. A little more and I'll win the bet. Eri. What bet are you talking about? Kirishima. Nothing like that, it's just something I'm trying to see with your father's friends. Out of nowhere, as if he felt Kai, he began to feel a huge powerful and terrifying presence behind him, his instinct screamed to run and not look back, but he did the opposite to see his girlfriend. Kami. I think we'll talk in private about that bet you made. He said it with a smile that gave the same terror, a dark aura and more than clear that left his terrifying presence to the boy who trembled. In another place where the same ogre was, Yujiro Hanma sat in his apartment while in front of him were two special people or well three in fact. Oliver. You really are too not embarrassed to say things like this. Jack. You know very well that despite everything I was not going to say that a brat defeated me, much less the Unchained One from the United States, it is very embarrassing. Yujiro. I warned you when I told you not to face my star student, now thanks to that we all know about your defeat that you hid for a long time. Jack. Anyway, I'm not interested in that kind of stuff if you mind. Yujiro. Anyway, I think this interests you a little, Baki, knowing that your brother was defeated by someone you had no idea even existed. Baki. The truth is yes, I couldn't even confront you with all your strength, without a doubt Mr. Oliver already defeated him, and this young Izuku defeated my brother, but from what you said about his way of progressing with power and everything makes it clear that he is a perfect opponent to face to get an idea of his true power and be one step closer to being able to confront you. He said it with a smile as if it were nothing to him, making his father smile to see the most anticipated future fight, his son against his student, two people who are not only good at fighting, but rather the two evolve even more when they fight until they defeat the opponent, a fight that nobody would want to miss like that. Near Nijire's house the girl walked next to the green-haired young man who was carrying his daughter. Nijire. It's amazing to see her asleep, I really never thought she'd get tired so quickly. Izuku. That's true, although it's weird not seeing Kirishima or Nijire for a while. Nijire. I was told that they really need to settle some things before they can move forward with the matter. Izuku. Well, relationship matters, I can't get involved in that kind of thing, or I'll make a mistake to be exact. Nijire. I think you can't do it, as long as you manage to get a partner as soon as possible, it's one of many options if I'm not mistaken. Izuku. That's true. The two of them walked until they reached their house to open the door where the girl entered, where the young man just left her little by little in his arms, staring at her without saying anything about it, with a few moments of silence like tension making them little by little get a little nervous completely until they managed to react in time. Nijire. Well, I guess I should go in and leave Eri in her bed, she should at least rest a little. Izuku. Sounds good to me, I can just go back to the academy for a bit, I hope to find Kirishima around there a bit. Nijire. Sounds good to me, see you soon. The two began to leave the place where Nijire closed the door with a kind smile, while Izuku walked directly to Yue, thinking about some things that were going through his mind. Izuku. No matter how hard I try, I can't find a way to make up my mind completely. I really never imagined that these kinds of things were so complex, to be honest, I don't even know what to do. The young man walked calmly until he noticed that not far away was someone he was able to completely recognize, it was his father who was in that place with some papers in hand. Chapter 32. At the UA Academy, Izuku's group or part of it were leaving, who simply wanted to have the idea of being able to hang out while they were calm, without the need to end a fight or something similar, without knowing the true danger that was approaching them completely. Kirishima. It's been a while since I've taken a walk as peaceful as this one. Todoroki. We can even go together at least. Melissa. That's true, nothing bad can happen anyway. Izuku. Never take confidence in that kind of things can always happen no matter what it is about. Amy. And if we think about it, whenever we meet Izuku we can have some fun, no matter what things might happen. Shinso. I say we'll be able to see at least one fight today. Izuku. Why do you have such hopes? Shinso. Maybe because your father is a very important agent, your master is Yujiro Hanma, the strongest being in this world, or so it is said, and now we are curious if Garou is really going to be your father-in-law in the not too distant future. Momo. Don't say that kind of thing really. Izuku. Calm down, we don't really have much to do anyway. Jiru. Although that kind of thing can get a little interesting. Todoroki. Don't even say it, although I don't understand why they have to come when we said this was going to be a boys' night. He said this as they looked at their girlfriends like Momo, Melissa and Jiru who were present. Izuku. I honestly don't know and I'd rather not know to be honest. Momo. You can just trust that we don't plan on interrupting any of your things to take away your fun. Mirio. If they say that, we should still be able to think about the things that we can have between good and bad to be honest. Izuku. Unfortunately it's true, we'll have to take that kind of thing into account at least. The group was only able to begin to have a quiet outing where they mainly went to a card game to bet we're out of shame. They took the opportunity to take all of Mirio's money from his hero fee just out of the academy. After that they could only go to eat in some places where they came to drink some beer to stay calm until they reached a park where they walked maintaining their composure until Izuku stood still causing someone to stare at him. Melissa. What happens now? Jiru. You look pretty serious even though we're having a good time. Izuku. It's just that I could notice that a person has been following us since we entered the park. It seems that he was simply waiting for us to be alone in an area where no one could see us. Kirishima. What are you talking about? Izuku. Please, you don't have to pretend any longer, maybe you can fool the rest, but you know well that among all of you, you can't fool me. Baki Hanma. I managed to recognize the presence of a Hanma quite well. He said this while looking to the side where they saw a young man with red hair come out with a smile on his face. Baki. Not bad, you know how to recognize me when it's due. Izuku. Please, I was trained by your father for a long time, and I managed to recognize your brother in person to have a fight against him. The obvious thing is that I can get to know all of you completely. I know quite well when a Hanma is nearby, because it is easy to recognize him by letting out a presence that is different from the rest of the people. Baki. So you are capable of knowing that kind of things, you really are a little different from the rest of the people apparently, and you are just like my father describes you. Izuku. Please stop playing like this, Baki, since we both know very well what is happening right now. Baki. What are you talking about? Izuku. We both know well that I was trained by your father, therefore what you want most at this moment is to be able to test the strength of the ogre's student. Baki. In that case you really have taken everything into account, you know very well that I only want to have a fight with you once and for all. Izuku. I don't think there's any need to ask you two to step back a bit, we'll have a little fight between the two of us. The group began to move away a little in doubt, trying to figure out exactly what was happening or how this was going to end up happening this way. Baki. You certainly managed to defeat my brother, but I still have doubts about what can really happen. Izuku. That's true, among the people who have a category of being so dangerous worldwide, Yujiro Hanma, Piscuit Oliver, Pickle, Mayashi Miyamoto, Garou and my father, you want to reach that rank to be able to face your father, but nevertheless you have the doubt of where you are exactly, in a few words between us two. Baki. If I defeat you then it means I'm closer than I thought, but if I don't succeed, then I'm not capable of being at that level yet. Izuku. May the best man win. The two began to approach little by little in a firm step where Izuku simply tried to attack the Hanma with a kick that he managed to dodge in order to respond directly with a direct blow to his face that managed to move him away a little. Something that he took advantage of to launch himself again into combat with another blow hitting the back of the green-haired man, causing him to step back, being something simple for him who little by little was taking more control of the combat until at one point Izuku took him by the arm to spin around and slam him against the ground, directly causing him to end up crashing into some trees where he began to emerge from the same rubble. Baki. So if he's strong, Jack wasn't really lying. Izuku. Hey, if you're done thinking, you better come, I want to finish you off as soon as possible. Baki. We'll see about that. The red-haired man began to launch himself against him, where he simply began to throw a shower of punches and kicks, where Izuku was barely able to cover himself from those attacks, trying to stand firm at the same time until at one point he managed to jump away to respond with a second jump forward, where he managed to connect a blow to Baki's stomach that knocked the wind out of him while sending Them flying, although the Hanma did not stay still as he managed to connect a kick to his face, causing him to end up retreating in the same way where they barely managed to get up at the same time to stand up each on their own. Yujiro. It seems like they are on par. Koyami. It seems so, but this is a bit strange. Izuku. Okay, I'm finishing the warm-up Baki, sorry if I accidentally kept you waiting. Baki. It's okay, I still wanted the chance to fight you like this. Izuku. In that case let's start with a real fight. Upon that hearing, Hanma only launched himself against him so he could land a punch on Izuku's face, causing him to step back, followed by a kick so he could continue with a series of punches and kicks, causing him to step back even further. Melissa. This is bad, Izuku can't defend himself. Momo. We have to do something about this. Kirishima. But if we try to do something really we'll just make Izuku angry. Najire. That's right, we can't do something like interrupting, Izuku really doesn't want to have that thing of being interrupted by the rest. Yujiro. But something strange is happening. Momo. What do you mean, something strange? Yujiro. You worry too much about him, you're not seeing beyond the fact that there's something strange about him. The brunette did as she was told to stare for a few moments, until she also managed to realize the detail that was hidden in that same fight. In the fight Baki launched himself once more, connecting another blow to Izuku, causing him to back away as he was thinking about continuing to attack until he noticed how a blow from the green-haired man was going to his back, something that he let pass by because he was confident. Causing him to receive it fully so that he flew out of the place followed by falling to the ground with his gaze lost in the sky, while a little smoke managed to come out of his back where he ended up receiving the blow. Izuku. Sorry, I saved it a bit thanks to that old man Kaku. He really has some useful skills, to be honest. At that point he began to get up little by little, while looking at the green-haired boy with a slight smile. Baki. That's true, you really are someone strong, that technique was used against my father, it is very effective more than it seems to be honest, but anyway, I don't think that is the real case that you want to use. Izuku. That's true, now that you mention it we are simply very strong people, it is not worthy that the ogre's student insists on using other people's abilities that are used against him, in the same way that the son tries to do something similar, the best we can do for the moment is to go head on without the need to use a quirk or at least a special ability. I mean fight like the ogre's son and student. He said this as he began to raise his arms, causing his shirt to rip little by little, so that everyone could notice the muscles on his back, even Baki himself was surprised because they were Yujiro's marks when he thought about ending the fight as soon as possible. Baki. So you can use that, interesting, I really didn't expect such a thing from you. Izuku. Really? Well, I seriously left you speechless. The best thing is that we can fight as hard as we can, both opponents, as soon as possible. Baki. In that case let's get started. The two began to walk against each other until they were face to face to collide blows with each other, making an echo in the place by the same noise of the same attacks, where they continued with another blow to their faces and another blow without thinking about making each other retreat, being truly a case of gravity through brute force, without having any other thought than that one. Being that they continued in that way without stopping for a single moment. Melissa. No one really thinks about going back. Momo. But if they don't, then either of them could end up pretty badly. Todoroki. But if they don't want to use a quirk, it doesn't make sense for them to have changed like that. Momo. In fact my father told me about it once a long time ago, the demon face on a person's back is a physical ability that is almost impossible to achieve, and until now only the Hanma were able to achieve such an ability in their bodies, to be honest, it is surprising to see Izuku with such strength as an ability that he reached that same back. Najire. So what are we going to do? Momo. Nothing for now. The two of them were just giving blow after blow, neither of them wanted to back down, since Baki himself was using the ogre's back at that point, despite all the things that were happening at that moment, they only thought about being able to stand firm until the inevitable happened, one last blow managed to define everything. Izuku managed to take ground, while Baki ended up falling to the same ground, without being able to do anything about it. Izuku. Now you can see Baki Hanma, who of the two is stronger than the other you can finally see it. The young man began to stagger a little and fell on his back, but the girls managed to get ahead and catch him, preventing him from falling in the process. Chapter 33. At the UA Academy Izuku was with Eri playing a little, passing the time, being that he was only capable of having a smile, since his battle against Baki, he managed to realize some details of the Hanma family, among those details is the part of the treatment of parents and children, especially Yujiro with his two closest children, so to speak. So he thought about being able to spend more time with Eri for the moment. Eri. Dad, it's not for nothing, but you're starting to spend more time with me, I don't understand why. Izuku. Well Eri, I just wish I could spend more time with you, sometimes we should be able to do things together. Izuku's thoughts. You're on the right path Izuku, try as much as possible not to earn his hatred from him so that he looks for you in order to kill you, but I don't think it will end that way, right? The young man had a smile until they started to hear something. Momo. Hey Izuku, we'd like to talk to you. Izuku. Yeah, what's wrong? Melissa. If possible, do it alone, we don't want many people to hear this. Izuku. If they say so, hey Kirishima, I need you to take care of Eri for a bit for now. Kirishima. Sounds fine to me Izu bro, we'll play father, mother and daughter if you don't mind. Izuku. Sounds good to me. Mina. Can I be the mother? Kirishima. No, luckily Kami came in time. Kami. And I like being with children. But that they left, leaving the four alone. Izuku. Now what's the matter? Najire. It's ours. Izuku. How? Najire. It's just that lately we've been hanging out with you more for some reasons, not bad ones, but we want to know what exactly you feel for us. Izuku. Ah, that was all, they had to say it before. The young man was completely calm, but inside it was another matter. Izuku's thoughts. What the hell do I do now? If I make a wrong move, they'll be capable of killing me, but you can decide calmly, just think things a little better, look at your feelings, try to see everything. Momo. We know this is a bit hasty, especially after everything that happened to you before with Uraraka, and we don't want you to think the same. Melissa. It's really something we can't just take for granted, but we also don't want everything to go badly or worse. Izuku. Well, this is actually a bit complicated. I think I'm really having a hard time with this issue, to put it one way. Najire. So you've already managed to choose. Izuku. I didn't mean that, but rather it is a very delicate matter, and since what happened with the Tartarus issue, it was not a very easy thing for me to be able to have all this, now with this it became even more complicated for me. Melissa. We know that very well, that's why we want to find a way to at least help you, a way for you to be with someone again, at least if you truly love one of us. At his words Izuku thought about being able to speak until they were interrupted by an explosion, where they saw how some Nomas began to emerge as villains from the area, surprising everyone while part of the class began to leave. Kirishima. What's going on now? Sedu. We are under attack. When he said that Izuku looked directly at Eri to worry about her. Izuku. Please go get Eri and keep her safe, I'll take care of the Nomas. But that he launched an attack, starting to hit every Nomu he saw in his path, while little by little others like Todoroki, Kirishima and Bakugo were joining the battle, fighting with the Nomas, while the rest tried to prevent them from escaping as much as possible. Dabi. Not bad, they do pretty well even though it's a surprise attack. Izuku. What do you mean by this? I don't think your master feels a lot of pride just because you attacked this place by surprise. Dabi. We'll see about that, the League of Villains is going to be the winners, we'll take control of this whole thing. Kirishima. Not if we're here to prevent it. The group tried to do their best to fight until at one point, Izuku was taken by some Nomas where Dabi thought about finishing him off immediately by throwing his flames at the young man, hitting the target so that he fell directly to the floor before the eyes of some. Todoroki. Come on Kirishima, go check on Izuku, we need him to keep fighting until the professionals arrive. Kirishima. Yes. The red-haired young man began to go for his friend while Izuku was on the floor watching as Dabi threw fire everywhere until he noticed on the other side how Momo, Najire, Melissa and Eri were trying to keep her safe. Being that part of the fire reached them like a part of gas causing it to explode, creating a cloud of smoke before the desperate gaze of the young man who only had his gaze fixed on them until he slowly left noticing how the girls and his daughter were on the floor without reacting. All this was happening while Kirishima arrived at the place. Kirishima. Hey buddy, are you okay? Dude, you have to answer me, that attack couldn't have left you that bad. She watched as he slowly got up as he just walked towards Dabi, having doubts about what was happening because he noticed how Izuku managed to have a different expression. Izuku. Now he's dead. Kirishima. How? He began to notice how parts of his body began to change little by little. On the other hand, Dabi was still throwing his fire, although he had a smile at what he was doing. Dabi. Yes, I want to see all the heroes burn. At one point he felt a hand on his shoulder from her behind him, causing him to turn around and find nothing, but when he looked back at the class, he was scared by what he saw. A being with a blood-red body, dark crimson red horns and wings of the same color, but a little lighter, just a little. He had a tail of the same shape that ended in the shape of a trident, from his back a kind of fire could come out. His clothing had black protectors directly on his forearms and shoulders, and red protectors on his thighs while his legs were different. That being had the true appearance of a demon. Dabi was scared and barely tried to back away to attack with his flames when he was taken by the mouth while staring at the young man. Izuku. Now come your punishment. Dabi. What the hell are you? Of having a clear answer, he ended up receiving a blow to the stomach that knocked all the air out of him, followed by ending up with his face buried in the floor because of the same young man who only happened to drag him along it, creating a line of destruction in his wake, where he immediately stops to lift him in the air and hold him there by pure blows to his body. Not letting him touch the floor for such a thing, where he stops, if it weren't worse, using his tail he grabbed him by his legs to begin whipping him against the floor repeatedly until he threw him to crash into some rocks. Dabi. Damn monster, die already. As soon as he said it, he began to launch his fire without holding back a bit against Izuku, who managed to receive it fully, and instead of backing away, he looked with fear in his eyes as the young man advanced little by little with firm and clear steps without any fear towards him. Being that way until he was in front of him where he took Dabi by the neck to begin to lift him little by little in the air, only to hit him against the floor, cracking it. Everything was seen by the class that had no idea what was happening. Jiru. What is that thing? Kirishima. That's Izuku, it really is him. Todoroki. How can it be Izuku? That's clearly impossible because if it were him he would be holding back. Uraraka. But that's a monster or a demon, it's not human. Bakugo. I definitely never imagined seeing something like this. Everyone watched as the young man was finishing off Dabi, as if he were nothing more than a test dummy with his attacks, until some nomas tried to take him by the back, drawing a smile on Dabi's disfigured face, and with a movement of Izuku's own claws, he went on to eliminate them, as if they were nothing by cutting their parts into little pieces. And he only went from having a smile to a horrified look, knowing that now nothing good was going to happen. With the class I was able to see how the professionals arrived at the place. Nezu. What's going on? Todoroki. There was an attack and we tried to contain it, but Izuku took that form, and now we have no idea what to do. All Might. I have to go against him, if I can't control him now, let him alone at another time. Nezu. Wait a moment, we can't just attack him like nothing, we must first know what exactly made him take that form. Kirishima. I think I know. But that he looked to the side where the unconscious girls were as they were beginning to understand a little. On the other hand, a certain brunette was beginning to think a little about the details because no one was beginning to take them much importance. Again with Izuku he was destroying Dabi until he couldn't take it anymore and was unconscious so that the young man could leave him on the floor as if he were garbage. Jiru. Now what do we do? Kirishima. Calming him down is the best. Jiru. Yeah, but I don't think I'm one to talk right now. All Might. I'll take care of it. As he prepared to attack, the young man looked at all of them, making them feel afraid, or so they looked, a kind of monster in front of them. From Izuku's eyes, he could see how a certain brunette approached with a piece of metal towards the girls that no one was paying attention to, clearly noticing her intentions to launch herself towards her, passing by everyone who didn't notice, and when they noticed it, they saw how she was holding Uraraka's arm, that arm that had the piece of metal to release it, because of the pain she was in. Ida. No, what do you think you're doing? Kirishima. It seems to stop something that possibly has bad intentions from Uraraka. The young man thought about being able to finish her off by raising his claws, but before doing so his arm was taken by another person so that he could see Yujiro Hanma himself with a smile, who connected a kick causing him to move away from them. Yujiro. Not bad, it took us a long time, but you finally get your complete monster form, the form that Garou can have, but you can't control it, since Garou can't be found, then I have to take charge of being able to control you a little. The young man gave a roar at such a thing to launch himself against Yujiro, who at that began to prepare a blow where all the bandages on his arm were marked, and with it, he connected it directly to Izuku's head, leaving him on the floor so that he would be unconscious and return to normal. Yujiro. It seems that you managed to withstand a very strong blow, I think some things make quite a bit of sense now. But that the ogre walked away from the place while Izuku was unconscious, unable to do anything under the gaze of everyone who was surprised by such a detail. Chapter 34. In the hospital the girls were fine while they just watched what happened after the villain's attack, being that they were truly scared in part by the way Izuku managed to demonstrate in that same state, making it clear that it was no longer a simple fact for which someone was going to be able to make it clear. Momo. He got that way because of what happened to us. Kirishima. Yes, and I almost killed Ichako just now. Melissa. But Izuku can't be able to do that. Ida. Not to say that Ichako can't be to blame for anything. Kirishima. Then I want one of you to explain to me what's really going on with this part. He said this as he moved on to another part where it showed how Uraraka approached the girls with that metal object, causing them to be surprised by this fact as they began to look towards the brunette. Najire. Were you really going to do that to us? Try to kill us? Uraraka. Of course not, it was to protect them. Todoroki. But the danger passed. When Izuku took that form he was able to stop anything that happened in those moments. The truth is we cannot take into account that these types of things really happen, such as protecting them. Apart from your quirk allows you to throw heavy things, so a metal rod would not make sense for you to use. The brunette was increasingly under pressure from the interrogation she was receiving until everyone began to hear a scandal outside the room. Yujiro. What happens now? At that point they saw one of their companions come in, quite agitated. Jiru. Please, Kirishima, Todoroki, come here, we can't control him, it seems that he is really desperate. The boys listened without understanding what was happening, making the same three girls start to think that something serious was happening until they reached a part where they saw how Izuku was being held by professional heroes, such as doctors and other students like Shoji and Sedu, who did not even using their quirks, they were able to stop him. Sedu. Please Midoriya, try to calm down, there's no reason to be like that. Izuku. Shut your mouth, I want to see that they are okay, I am not interested in anything else right now, get out of my way. The young man sent them all flying, making them doubt how to stop him until the same green-haired man heard something. Melissa. Wait a minute Izuku, don't continue like that. Just hearing her voice, he turned around to see that they were all okay, so that he could begin to calm down in the face of such a fact and begin to walk towards them. Izuku. I thought I wouldn't be able to protect them, I thought I couldn't do it in time, no matter how hard I tried. Momo. We're fine, please calm down. There's no need for you to be in that state, it's all over now. The brunette was in charge of walking towards him in order to begin to calm him down under the gaze of the other two, who began to have their doubts about whether to do the same or not, but that moment was stopped by a person. Yujiro. Not bad brat, you finally do things the way they should be, you are finally able to have a power that goes beyond what other people can understand. Izuku. Master, what's wrong? You didn't come to this place for anything. Yujiro. Come here for a moment, I need to discuss a very important matter with you. The young man did as he said and began to follow his own master, where they managed to reach the roof of the building, where they only looked at the sky, while the ogre began to lose his smile, showing that it was not such a simple matter. Izuku. What's this all about? You never get so serious like this in exchange for an important topic coming up. Yujiro. And that being the case, I recommend you start building an army. Izuku. What are you talking about? Yujiro. In a while it seems that the League of Villains plans to destroy the entire city. For the time you are at the end of the third year of your academy, in the last part of your studies, the League of Villains will try to make a massive attack to all parts of the city. It will try to destroy everything that is in its path, no matter who it is. Izuku. How do you know that? I say because you're the ogre and all, but it makes no sense for you to pull that kind of stuff out of nowhere. Yujiro. I am the strongest creature in the world, everyone is afraid of me, and the League of Villains is no exception. They gave me that warning to try not to bother me, and I thought it was best to be able to tell you this. Izuku. Then I must talk to the pro-heroes. At that point I began to hear laughter, coming from the ogre himself, questioning the young man. Izuku. Did I say something that made you laugh? Yujiro. Of course, with all the time that passed I thought you were going to be able to see further than the rest of normal people. The professional heroes are not going to do anything about it, some of them are bought by the League of Villains, and it is impossible for anyone to face them, even if you take into account all the heroes not bought by them. You have the enormous disadvantage that they are not going to try to listen to you. Izuku. That's right, I completely forgot that detail, not even by saying this to Director Nezu will he be able to have enough people to fight, everyone will fail no matter how many of us there are, this is quite bad without a doubt. Yujiro. That's why I recommend you look further than what you actually find. Izuku. What do you mean, further away? Given the young man's clear doubts, he could only receive a blow to the head from Yujiro, causing him to start putting his hands on it. Yujiro. Learn from everything you've been through, idiot, all your victories, all your defeats, the people you know best, those who aren't considered heroes, but can come to this war in order to finish off the villains. Izuku. I understand, but there's no need for you to try to hit me every second of my life. Yujiro. Now you know everything you need to know, I only give you advice to start moving, don't try to be overconfident for much longer, just try to do things your way, don't think like a hero, the world considered you a villain, a traitor, the worst trash that has ever managed to exist in these times. Well now it's time to use that title to be able to have your influences at the top, no matter what happens. The young man was left with things in his head as he let out a rather heavy sigh at such a thing and continued thinking about the details. Izuku. Now I understand, I will do everything possible to form my own army if no one really wants to help me. But that the ogre managed to have a smile as he began to walk past him. Yujiro. That's all, I hope you'll be able to gather the necessary people for your last war, but remember one thing, it will take too much time for all those you're going to gather, and don't think you'll be able to move in daylight. The young man stated as he had a plan in mind that was slowly forming. Soon everyone was wondering what was happening until they saw Izuku slowly going down the stairs while at the same time he was quite thoughtful. Momo. What happened? Izuku. It's nothing important, just details that I have in mind, nothing more than that, but I feel completely fine. The brunette looked a little annoyed at the young man who only had a slight smile, although inside he was very worried about certain details. Todoroki. Then we'll have to start things over again, the doctor already released you after seeing how you sent half the world flying. Izuku. Yes, thanks for saying it Todoroki, now if they let me I have to go with the director. Everyone looked with doubt at the way the young man behaved. As the hours passed, he was alone in his room watching the sunset, but suddenly a certain black girl began to enter his room and just looked at the young man. Momo. Are you okay? Izuku. Yes, why do you ask? Momo. It's because you haven't stopped thinking until now. Izuku. It's about my new power, it seems that I can't completely control that monster form completely. Momo. I think it makes sense, but I was worried when I saw you in that form, you made me remember when I saw my father use his complete monster state, he wasn't able to recognize anyone, not even his family, and he thought you weren't going to be able to come back anymore. Izuku. Come on, you know very well that I can do many things better than anyone, but I can see that you didn't come just to tell me that. Momo. Well, let's say I came for something else. In a moment the brunette got closer to the young man, giving him a kiss, who she was surprised by such a thing while he was completely in shock before she was able to separate herself with a small blush. Momo. That's all, I came so I could do that. Izuku. Are you serious? But I don't know what to say. Momo. You don't need to say anything, I just ask that you can accept it. She said this while taking one of her young man's hands, who had a slight smile before being able to do the same for the brunette, showing that she did reciprocate her feelings. Izuku. Of course I can reciprocate that, I just ask one more thing if you can do me the favor. Momo. What's it about now? Izuku. I just ask that they become stronger and can protect themselves, I wouldn't want something bad to end up happening. Momo. You know very well that I can do that, there's no need for you to tell me, especially when my father made me repeat it when I was little. Izuku. I still don't understand the possibility that someone as aggressive and dangerous as Garou is would end up with a woman who is much calmer than him. Momo. We are not far from reality if we get down to it. The brunette gave the young man a smile, which he was able to reciprocate in the same way for a few moments. The next day the students were slowly getting up and one of them went to get his friend from him. Kirishima. Hey Izuku, we have to get up, we have classes today. When she managed to open the door to her room, she noticed that there was no one there, casting doubt on it. Sai was walking through the training yard while looking everywhere. Sai. Where are you Midoriya? In the gym, Jiru was doing the same thing and on the other side where the group normally trained with Izuku, they couldn't find his presence either. Todoroki. Where are you now? If I don't find you, we'll all get into trouble. Everyone began to look for the green-haired boy since they couldn't find him anywhere, except for a brunette who was slowly waking up as she rested well from seeing how that young man managed to reciprocate her feelings, but she heard the screams of her companions. Momo. What happens now? At one point she managed to notice a letter that was on her nightstand, casting doubt on it. When she opened it and began to read it, she was only able to start to feel sad at how the letter was progressing. Chapter 35. The whole year passed since Izuku left the academy, leaving everyone alone who had no idea what was happening with that green-haired boy who was doing things on his own, as if it were nothing to him. Now the entire class was after a group of villains trying to catch them. Kirishima. We can't let them get away, they have important information about the League of Villains. Sedu. We know that very well. The class tried to go after the villain who had a smile, while he was only able to escape before the eyes of the boys who tried to catch him until he was able to stop for a moment. Villain. Damn idiots, they have no idea that they are actually inside a very simple trap, but all heroes always fall into it. Bakugo. What the buck are you talking about? You better shut your mouth and let us lock you up once and for all. Villain. No matter how much they manage to lock me up, the League of Villains will be the one that triumphs in the end, we will be the winners, and you all will be the losers, that is a fact that none of you are capable of understanding in any way. Iida. This is pointless, let's just end this once and for all. Villain. I can say the same, now Nomus can finish them off once and for all. When I shouted that I expected something to happen, but nothing happened at that moment before the eyes of all the students. Villain. I said Nomus, you can finish them off, come on, get out once and for all, and don't try to make me look ridiculous. The man was expecting the presence of something that did not take long to arrive, as some bodies fell from the sky and the nomas were torn to pieces, surprising everyone, especially what was above them. Boy. As always, you are all being so predictable. I thought that after so many fights you had with me, you would finally stop being so predictable. Everyone was looking at the same Izuku above all the nomas who had let his hair grow a little. He now had a green shirt with the sleeves rolled up a little, brown boots, along with dark green pants and a brown belt. At his waist he carried a brown-handled dagger with gold parts around the edges and in his hand a huge sword. All of that came along with his arm that carried that sword, having the rays of one for all, surprising everyone with his presence of him, while the villain was somewhat afraid. Sedu. Is it really him? Ida. It's impossible, he's supposed to have left a year ago. Kirishima. Finally until you come back. The young man had a rather serious look on his face, while some nomas managed to appear behind him where everyone was about to warn him, but with a single turn, he managed to cut them in half, surprising everyone and even more so because of the enormous amount of wind that was generated by making a single attack. Izuku. You better go to the dorms, I'll take care of all the nomas in the area. The class that was looking at the young man had no choice but to pay attention to him and began to leave the place, while Izuku looked at all the nomas that were before him. Izuku. Let's see how much they can withstand my sword cuts. He said this as he slowly prepared for battle, where a massacre broke out with the bodies of the nomas, leaving no one alive. Soon he found himself back at the academy where everyone was in the dormitories, even the teachers and the director, due to the return of the green-haired boy to the area. Sniper. What are we going to do with him now? Izawa. I have no idea, he left without any notice, we can't just move around like nothing happened in front of him. All Might. It's pretty obvious, we must punish him or do something similar to him, we have no other options. Everyone was talking about the subject until they saw how the same green-haired man began to enter the area where he left his sword aside, although if something was very different about him despite the weapons as clothing and hair, it was an aura, an enormous killer instinct that he had around him that filled the entire room. Scaring those present who were not able to move, but rather were only able to think. Bakugo's thoughts. What does this mean? I can't move. Todoroki's thoughts. This is amazing, just 1 year you have passed and now we are in this fear. All Might's thoughts. Is this the same Izuku from before? Each one was lost in his thoughts of him until that murderous instinct was interrupted by a blow from a jet that left him on the floor unable to move. Momo. What do you think you're doing? Izuku. Give them a little scare. Momo. I don't mean that, you leave me with good feelings, but you leave out of nowhere without any warning or clear reasons, do you know how worried I was about you? Damn idiot. Every word she said was a blow to the green-haired man who was unable to defend himself against the brunette. Kirishima. I think we don't have to worry a bit at least. Sedu. Not at the moment. When the brunette stopped hitting our green-haired boy, he was in front of everyone with some bandages, since Momo used some Garou skills on the boy's body. Sniper. Okay, now we want you to explain to us exactly what happens, you disappear out of nowhere without any warning, without telling us anything, and you come back again causing a massacre. Izawa. The least you can do is explain to us what exactly is going on. Izuku. Okay, I'll gladly tell you, my reasons for leaving were because of the League of Villains. Cements. What do they have to do with all this? Izuku. What happens is that I recently found out that the League of Villains is preparing an army that will destroy the entire city in a short time by taking control of everything. The best thing for me was to do something similar, look for an army. Sniper. How to search for an army? Izuku. Just as I heard, well the League of Villains is assembling an entire army. I was thinking that the fairest thing was for me to do the same and assemble an army on my own, capable of finishing off the League of Villains as soon as possible. All Might. But we were there, you could have asked us for help to fight, there's no need for you to go around recruiting people who you don't even know can actually help you or not. Izuku. You're wrong, I'm more than sure that the people I recruited will be able to help us, apart from that half of all the heroes are on the side of the League of Villains, the other half is completely untrustworthy, not to mention that I managed to find the real traitor in the UA, that person who was passing data to the League of Villains, as the main cause of ending up in the worst places. Nezu. And who is that person you're mentioning so much now? Izuku. His dear partner Aoyama is the informant of the League of Villains, he is in charge of sending important information to the League of Villains in order to keep them informed of everything that is happening lately. At these words everyone looked at the blonde who was nervous as he began to back away upon seeing how he had been discovered. Aoyama. Please, I can explain. Bakugo. If you're going to explain something then explain this. He launched himself against Aoyama, but before he was able to do anything to him, the young blonde ended up disappearing before everyone's eyes and appearing next to Izuku who was still calm. Izuku. You shouldn't attack him like that. Uraraka. But if he's the main cause of your pain, we can't just let him go like nothing. Izuku. And behave like the animals they were in first year. I do T think so. Besides, every person has a story behind them before having to do certain things. That's why I spent my time investigating Aoyama's past about him before returning. Sniper. And what exactly happened? Izuku. It's simple, Aoyama was like me before, a young man without a quirk in his life, but his parents looking for a way for their son not to be rejected by society as they usually do with the quirkless, had no choice but to contact All For One, who gave him his quirk that he has now in exchange for one thing. Aoyama. Being the League of Villains informant, that was the deal. Izuku. Not to mention that the League of Villains knows where his family lives, therefore, they can kill his parents with great ease, not to mention other important facts, such as the simple fact that he never wanted to turn his back on us, he always wanted to be a hero like all of us, only he didn't have many options at the end of it all. Aoyama. I'm really sorry about this kind of thing. Iida. And you're just going to let him go like nothing? Izuku. And why not? I'm doing something that you didn't give me in any possible way, the possibility of being able to explain yourself to the rest, how to tell the facts, on my side you have my forgiveness and part of the trust in exchange for something. Aoyama. In exchange for what? Izuku. It's simple, you're going to contact the League of Villains, you're going to tell them that I know very well about their plans for the army they are putting together, at the same time tell them to try to put together an army in the same way, but they are few, so many that they're not even useful against a quarter of the villains, and that's why you're going to be able to move. Nezu. What's your plan with that? Izuku. Take their trust, I plan to make them trust each other enough to try to carry out that attack as soon as possible, and when they least expect it they will be crushed by my people, that way we will keep things more even, so to speak. Izawa. And you don't have any more things planned? Izuku. I'm afraid not, I can only ask you to try to bring your skills to the maximum you can, before this final battle begins. Once we finish with all this only one group will be able to stay alive, the rest will die as they should. Sniper. What do you mean by die? Izuku. I always kept my word not to kill, but if I don't tear out the root of all this from the beginning, then we will never be able to have a trick with these miserable villains. Nezu. Sounds good from my side, tomorrow we will begin the training in secret so that everyone will be able to be ready. Young Aoyama can give the message to the League of Villains, how to take care of the preparations. But that they began to separate little by little where Izuku was thinking of leaving, but was stopped by Aoyama himself in front of him. Aoyama. I know I can't fully forgive you for what happened while ago because of the pain I caused you, but thank you very much for giving me this second chance. The green-haired boy just kept a smile on his face as he began to walk away. At night he was in one of the rooms sitting on the bed, a little pensive while being hugged by a certain brunette. Momo. It seems like you are busy with something. Izuku. It's this war thing, I don't know how it's going to end in the end. Momo. I know very well, but it is better that you relax, tomorrow you will be able to feel better. With her words, she managed to relax the green-haired man who just lay down on the bed next to the brunette, falling asleep at that moment without knowing how things were going to end up in the end. Chapter 36. In one part of the city, Izuku was sitting as if he was waiting for something quite important to him, where he only sighed in the air as he noticed how the wind was beginning to get heavier and heavier. Izuku. Until you managed to arrive, at one point I thought you weren't coming back. In front of the young man, All For One himself appeared, looking as good as new, with a serious look mixed with a smile. All For One. I think it's best that you give up right now, Izuku, we both know perfectly well that you are surrounded and cannot do anything about it. Izuku. Really? I never imagined it, although coming from you it had to be something to be expected really. All For One. Exactly, now if you know what is good for you, thanks to the enormous power you had in your life, I will let you take two options. Izuku. With two options, I think letting a person decide something must be quite a compliment coming from a villain of your caliber. All For One. Exactly, the first one you can join me to end the society or the second one you can join them to die trying to end me. Izuku. But what a complex decision, on one hand I have the great number of traitors who once left me on one side, so that I could rot and die, while on the other I have villains who, although they were the main cause of my confinement, curiously they are those who made me open my eyes to know what kind of person I was dealing with. All For One. If you put it that way it sounds like a pretty easy decision, so what do you choose? The man extended his arm in front of the young man who only sighed while scratching his head a little and went to get something that was in his pocket. Izuku. To be honest, All For One, your way of saying that I should join you and all that sounds very tempting, but unfortunately we have to complicate things a little more if you want everything to take the course it should take, let's just make everything more fair. He saw the villain as he began to take out a kind of control from which he managed to press a button causing some buildings to explode so that All For One would turn around knowing perfectly well that it was in parts of the city. All For One. Did you just blow up buildings of people who were working normally? Izuku. You're wrong, your central coordinated attacks, don't think you're going to be able to fool me as if nothing, especially because I know your movements well, and we both know perfectly well the things that are happening from now on only mean problems on a large scale. All For One. Well, if you put it that way then there's no choice but to finish you off. He made some portals formed around the young man, from which little by little some Nomas managed to emerge and launched themselves against Izuku, who gave a rather heavy sigh. Izuku. Of all the things you could do, you really decided to make it difficult. But that he went on to take out a second controller and press its button, causing the place to end up exploding into pieces, where All For One only ended up in another building looking from a distance to dodge some pieces of rocks in the shape of spikes that went against him. All For One. Not bad young man, but it's a shame that I really find you in trouble, since my villains are going to take care of all of you, soon you will die, and the era of heroes will be completely destroyed. The villains began to go against the city, while little by little on the other side were the heroes going against them, only to begin the fight between the two sides, where the explosions were not long in coming, and people began to leave, while others came to fight alongside the heroes. Others only joined the villains having a great combat capacity on the part of the villains, while where the heroes were, Izuku managed to arrive to see around. Endeavor. Are you sure this is going to work? Izuku. Yes, this is going to work, but first we must finish off other members more dangerous than the villains themselves. Then I looked towards a part where the Nomas were, but the real problem was the bottom of these where Gigantomachia was destroying everything in its path without any mercy. Nezu. I can come up with many plans to stop that thing, but none of them are effective enough to stop it completely. Izuku. Then there's no other way, if there's no other way then we'll have to destroy it one way or another, even if that leads to even more dangerous things. Endeavor. Then let's say no more, we'll be able to stop him with some heroes. Everyone began to launch themselves from different points, with a large part going against Gigantomachia, knowing that he was a being too strong for other heroes, not having many opportunities to stop him under the green-haired man's gaze. Izuku. They won't be able to achieve anything at this rate. Nezu. What do you mean? Izuku. It's just as I imagined, we must have a good part on our side or enormous luck, just so we can face them, with some of the heroes alongside them, civilians, villains and Nomas, have too many capabilities to win. Nezu. In that case we will do our best to defeat them all. Izuku. We don't have to defeat them all to be able to finish them off, rather we must cut off the snake's head and not let it continue moving. I look at All For One as he launches himself onto the battlefield, beginning to defeat villains left and right, while at the same time Class A began to participate in the battle with Bakugo's explosions, Sato's strength, and other details that went against the villains, advancing little by little against them. Spinner. This is impressive, I never imagined that brat could have that ability. Tamura. Remember that he was gone from this place for a whole year, no one has any idea of the kind of training or things he may have done to be able to have so much power, we even have to be more careful than before. All For One. Despite the care we must take, we still have a part up our sleeve that they don't have. Toga. I hope it's too good because if they beat us we'll have to say goodbye to everything. Tamura. We know it well, let's just see what the master plans to do. All For One. You better find cover, this is going to be chaos soon. The villains slowly began to listen to their leaders and leave the place, while Izuku did his best to move forward, where he finally stood in front of All For One, who had a smile. All For One. You should have taken my chance when you could. Izuku. We can also say that I can't just join in like nothing, I went through too many things to let you pass by this kind of opportunity, being able to finish you off once and for all, at the end of it all is going to have its own achievement. All For One. Anyway, as I can take out this ability you have, in the end I'm always interested in having complete control over the elements. The young man only went on to charge his body with pure energy to launch himself against All For One, who blocked his blow as if it were nothing, thinking that it would not do anything to him, but he noticed how part of Izuku's blue rays turned green and the fire in his body became stronger to pass his defense and hit him. Causing him to step back followed by a kick to his stomach, causing him to only take a few steps back. Izuku. Don't think you can just stand up to me like that. All For One. You can't underestimate me either, I prepared a small trap in case I had a chance of ending up cornered by the heroes. Izuku. What do you mean, a trap? All For One. You're not the only one who can hold explosives on your side, right? As soon as she said that, she went on to put her hand in her pocket, causing Izuku to open his eyes to immediately leave the place to see Momo and go after her at full speed in order to reach her, where the only thing in his mind was the image of the brunette with a beautiful smile, where she was barely close to the ground at the same time lit up, followed by a huge explosion from afar where there was only a lot of smoke which lasted until it left, leaving a completely destroyed landscape with nothing good in its path but chaos and destruction, where from some rubble and Izuku began to emerge, who managed to enclose the brunette in a sphere just to be able to get her away from the place. Izuku. Much better. All for one. Not quite, now you find yourself in trouble before me. Izuku. Wretch, then you even plan to have your people end up injured or much worse dead. All for one. They knew perfectly well the risks of this, and they knew that they could not do anything if it was necessary. Izuku. But it wasn't necessary to do so. All for one. Maybe, but that doesn't matter now that they're dead. The real question is if other heroes including your friends manage to die, with that I can have better things. Izuku. Damn wretch, I never imagined that a person could be so hateful in life, and that's why I don't plan on letting you leave this place alive in any way. All for one. Are you serious? Because I would like to see it. The man was clearly in front of the young man to end his life when the young man tried to do something against him. Chapter 37. The villain was ready to take Izuku's life, who only remained serious until he heard something in the distance, being the villains who were quite doubtful at that moment due to a kind of smoke that began to appear around the place. Villain 1. And all this. Villain 2. Where the hell is all this smoke coming from? They watched from all sides as they were slowly disappearing until, out of nowhere, they heard one of them drowning, so they could see how a companion of his ended up with his throat cut. Villain 3. What the hell is going on? Everyone get out of the smoke. Villain 4. This can't be that bad. Before he finished speaking, his neck was also cut, being noticed by the other villains who had no idea of the cause until they saw how little by little more of them ended up with their necks cut, and at such a thing they began to scream. All for one. What's going on? What did you do? Izuku. Nothing, I just imagined that you were going to have contacts, and that's why I wanted to have my own. We are in a war where 3 armies participate. All for one. Did you say 3 armies? Izuku. Exactly, the League of Villains, the heroes of society, and finally where I am, where there are only people abandoned by society without being understood. At that moment he saw how where the dead villains were, little by little some people began to appear, the assassins being the ones who walked as if it were nothing. Spiner. What does this mean? Toga. I think we're in trouble. Tamura. It doesn't matter, Gigantomachia can take care of them, come on Gigantomachia, finish them all off. The perfect Nomu ran towards the assassins, thinking that he could defeat them, but when he was close to them he was stopped by something that got in his way, causing him to stop. All for one. What happens now? Izuku. That's right, not only did I want to bring in some assassins, but I brought a beast with which I made a deal. All for one. Did you say a deal? Izuku. Yes, a very small deal that I hope you don't mind too much. If he defeats the enemy I entrust him, he can devour everything he wants from it. I hope your Gigantomachia manages to satisfy his appetite because he is hungry and very hungry since he hasn't eaten for days. At that moment he saw how Gigantomachia himself was slowly retreating, surprising the villain with such a thing. All for one. What the hell did you bring? Izuku. Well, I'd like you to do me favors and meet Pickle. At that moment he flew out so everyone could see that he was a rather large man with dark skin who only had a smile. On the other hand, Gigantomachia tried to advance, but his legs ended up with cuts, causing him to kneel, surprising everyone with such a thing. Abi. Impossible, no one has ever managed to get a single scratch on Gigantomachia before, this can't be possible. Izuku. I hope you don't mind the presence of an old friend, very old to be honest, Musashi Miyamoto. But that they saw the swordsman in that place who was only with a common look that he always showed. Musashi. It seems like this monster can regenerate its wounds, it seems like I can have fun from now on. At that moment more people flew out to see other people, being the same Hanma brothers like a certain old man who was in a wheelchair. Hakukayo. I think this is going to be interesting. Jack. I'm finally going to be able to test my skills on other people. Baki. At least we'll have a chance to take down some guys who might be strong. The villain looked at this with fear until more people flew out from another side to see that it was Garou, who was accompanied by an old man who had quite large muscles. Garou. Hey old man, I better hope you manage to stay standing. Old man. For you I am Zeus, the father of the cosmos. Garou. Whatever, as long as that tyrant of the seas and king of the underworld does something better. Zeus. You can rest easy, Hades and Poseidon can do a lot of things on their own. Everyone watched as they took more and more part in the battle, defeating as many villains as they got in the way, surprising All for One with such a display of power. All for one. Impossible, this can't be possible happening to my subordinates. Izuku. And that's not all. Hearing this, he turned to see how Izuku was in that demonic form of which he had complete control. Izuku. You still have to fight me using all your strength and try not to hold back, you miserable idiot. He grabbed him by the face to lift him into the air, followed by throwing him far away, where the other villains were, so that Izuku's army began to go where he was, while on the other sides, the villains were only for the young man to move some rubble to get out Momo, who was still conscious. Momo. What's wrong? Izuku. Just a little extra help I went looking for in my time alone. Momo. So they're the ones you've been looking for. Izuku. You could say so. Hakukayo. Then young man, I hope you will be able to get all this under control. Izuku. Whether it's about all of you or Pickle's case, as long as I can eat Gigantomachia nothing will happen. But that they looked to the side where Gigantomachia was running towards the caveman who was doing the same. Kirishima. Not for nothing, but do you think he'll be able to? Izuku. I can assure you that yes, he absolutely can, especially since he's hungry. At that moment they collided with each other just to make the area shake. Zeus. How exciting, at least we brought the humans from Ragnarok to take care of business. Or. We will finally see who of the two is better in battles. Lubu. Whoever defeats the most enemies will be the strongest of all. Or. They will all fall before Mjolnir. Lubu. Not if I kill them first. Izuku. I think with this everything is more than ready. All for one. Damn it, villains finished them all off, without any mercy. The villains were only just beginning to go against Izuku, who looked at this to have a slight smile at such a thing. Sedu. Now what are we going to do? Izuku. It's pretty obvious, help the heroes to recover, and whoever can then have to fight, we will buy enough time, everyone attack. They began to run in the same way so that Izuku using his wings went directly against All for One, who was only preparing for such a thing, where he ended up receiving a direct attack from Garou, who was there. Garou. I wanted to do that before all this continued. Izuku. So you plan to help me? Garou. Maybe a little. At that moment, when he thought of continuing to advance, a trail of fire ended up in front of his path, preventing him from continuing in any way. Abi. Don't think you're going to be able to follow this path as if it were nothing more than a miserable hero hunter. Seeing him, the image of Genos immediately came to mind, causing him to have a slight smile. Garou. Change of plans, it seems I finally have someone to fight seriously, or at least a little. He began to walk towards him, while Izuku just wanted to continue on his way to be able to continue fighting. On the other hand, Pickle was fighting against Gigantomachia, where he received a blow that made him step back so that Gigantomachia himself tried to continue, but with one jump, Musashi managed to be in front of his face to make a cut in his eyes, momentarily shielding him where he thought about continuing to fight after seeing that Pickle gave him a direct hit in the face to continue with the attack, but on Musashi's side, he saw how some blades went against him, causing him to jump back. Spinner. Don't think you're going to be able to keep fighting as if nothing happened. Musashi. Are you planning to fight me? Spinner. Yes, I can see that you have a sword, and that's why I plan to fight the same way. He went to draw his sword, so he had a slight smile. Musashi. We'll see if you're able to survive in any way possible. He began to walk with his sword in hand, ready for anything. Elsewhere, Gigantomachia only managed to land a blow on Pickle, so he could continue attacking with other blows to his face, so he would fall to the ground, where he thought he could jump and finish him off with a direct blow with his mallet to his face, but an arm managed to get in his way, grabbing him by the neck and sending him flying far away. Where Pickle saw the person responsible for such an act. Jack. What's wrong with you? You didn't seem so disappointing when we fought, and this thing is much weaker than me. Gigantomachia slowly got up to be able to attack him, where he roared towards the two fighters who at that moment connected a blow at the same time in his face, so that he flew away again. Jack. Looks like we're going to have a slightly bigger party than I thought. They began to walk slowly towards the same place where, on the other side, the UA members began to see the destruction that was being done. All Might. Is this what young Izuku has been putting together during this time? Nezu. It certainly looks impressive. Sniper. I don't think that's the right word. They saw how pieces of soldiers were coming out from one side without stopping. Lubu. 243. Thor. 244. Lubu. 245. The two warriors were counting all the villains who were against them, but they died as if they were not that big a deal. Zeus. I never thought crushing so many people would be so much fun to do again. Hades. Don't get too excited, brother, we can't just let ourselves be influenced as if it were nothing, we still have to continue with this somehow. Poseidon. Don't even say it, this is becoming more annoying than before, die damned imperfections of the world, fall before a perfect being. All the villains were falling little by little, while All For One was lying on the floor where he got up little by little to see how Tamura was doing to help him, where they noticed a shadow that was covering them being Izuku himself, who was only covered by those explosions having an imposing figure before them. Izuku? Are you done resting? Because now the real game begins. All For One? Damn brat, don't think I'll show any mercy. Izuku? Did you even have it? The two stared at each other, showing that soon they were going to have to see who was going to survive in that mortal combat, whether the strongest villain or the monster that came out of Tartarus. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.